Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 246th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me this evening, we have Andy Patterson, Rob Kelly, Adam Smido-Smith, and Gabe Lewis. Let's get straight on with the action then, guys. Plenty going on over the weekend. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or feedback or anything, then let me know on Twitter, and I shall get to them, or Facebook, I suppose. I might not see that, but you can have a try anyway. Chris Eubank against Avni Yildirim. That was the main fight that we're going to talk about first of all. This Yildirim character, I mean, he done brilliant from what I could see. Definitely winning the first couple of rounds, popping the jab, getting the body shots going. A bit of a dodgy knockdown in the first round, dominating things, Andy. And then Eubank caught him. Eubank caught him with a lucky punch, and all of a sudden, everybody's favourite for the tournament was just hurt. He was out of there, and I don't know. He reminded me, Andy, a bit like Arthur Abraham of, current Arthur Abraham. Actually, he was terrible.
What was your pick last week?
Yes, I think I picked Mr. Yildirim a few weeks ago when we first were talking about the WBSS, and a little bit tongue-in-cheek, I picked him, but I was actually getting on board. I was watching the YouTube videos. I was starting to look at the record. I was starting to believe, and it's just another L in a long line of L's for me, Andy. The guy is pretty bad.
I usually just bet against whatever you pick, mate, sometimes, you know. Where do you start? I suppose I'm a bit disappointed in Yildirim a little bit. I expected him a wee bit kind of better than that, a wee bit kind of tougher than that. I think he got drops at the first round with a kind of uppercut. It was a bit wild. I think it was wild from kind of both parties and stuff. I think, Eubank is Eubank. He does what he usually does. He just wings an absolutely unbelievable amount of shots. Misses a fair few shots as well. I thought he did measure his distance, not bad at times with his jab, but his combination punching that isn't all that great. But at the same time, Yildirim, I think he just, as you say, mate, I think he just kind of march forward with the hands up, try to kind of get Eubank in close and then try and unload. But I just think, with Eubank's speed, it was just, the shootout was always, I wouldn't say it was always going to end one way, because I don't think Eubank's never shown that type of power before, especially well, people will say it was a bit quick. I thought it was a fair stoppage, actually. I didn't think that the guy knew where he was. He could have been in Turkey, he could have been Syria, he could have been in Germany for all he fucking knew. But he was basically winging up shots. I did think if he got Eubank to the ropes, that's when he would try and kind of tee off. That's what he tried to do. Eubank kind of then got him off the ropes, and then he opened himself up, dropped his right hand. Eubank, whipped in a left hook while he's trying to throw a left hand at the same time. Body weight and balance completely off, and it was a fair knockout, I suppose. I would say deeply disappointed in Yildirim's performance, but I think folk are kind of a wee bit air bored here about Eubank winning this whole competition. I would be absolutely disappointed if Groves doesn't outbox this guy. I think he'll show Groves a bit more respect than that. I know I'm kind of like giving Groves kind of like the win next week already, but I think he'll knock out Cox. But far better jab than Eubanks. I think he's far more experienced, far more kind of polished than that. The only thing that can really kind of bother Groves is obviously the quickness and basically how's he going to cope with the Flores, and what happens if he does get clipped with a left hook or something. Does he take it? The right uppercuts could cause him a problem sometimes. I don't know, but we'll wait and see. But Eubank, okay, I expected him to go to points last week. That's what I picked anyway, but well surprised he got the stoppage so early. So you got to give him credit for that at least. But still a lot of fundamental flaws there, and as I say, deeply disappointed in Yildirim as well. Actually, I don't know. I've seen some people say he shat the bed. I don't think he shat the bed as such, because there was at times when Eubank decided to throw that he was trying to throw back with him sometimes. But other than that, he offered zilch, and it's clear that he's got a chin as well. So if Eubank stopped me like that, I think his chin's in a bit of a bad way.
Well, Andy, just before we move on to one of the other guys, let me ask you this. We had a question in from Danny Young. 3 questions, actually, but I'll just hit you with one to start off with. He said, do you think that Yildirim's manager, Akhmet Owner, we all know about him, made the fight personal, making his fighters' tactics go out the window? Are you blaming Akhmet Owner like Danny is, Andy?
No, I wouldn't go that far. We all know he's just a complete prick anyway. He's temperamental. If you go back and watch that Danny Williams fight in Spain, actually, it was like he just had a tantrum. Basically, his fighters getting an absolute pace, and so he just says, fuck this," goes there and just rings the fucking bell. He's just one of the guys, actually, emotional. I was trying to kind of bait him a little bit on Twitter, actually, which I enjoyed a wee bit. I got a wee bit of rise out of him, but he's just one of the guys. I think if you push him, push his buttons and that, he's just going to flip up and that. So I really don't think he's his attitude or his behaviour is actually going to affect how Yildirim fought. I just think that's just who the guy is, and Yildirim just basically was limited. As I says, strongman G glorified, basically, and that's what he proved to be. If you look at his ledger and that, it's not that great. That was probably his first real step up. And everybody knows I don't rate Eubank as highly as what some people are, but I can't blame the manager. He's a prick anyway.
Yeah, I think last week I erroneously said that it was the Danny Williams, Sinan Samuel Sam fight, but if I remember correctly, actually, when I was listening back to the pod, Sam battered Williams. I think it was Williams against Constantine Eric. The fight maybe in Spain. That was the one, wasn't it? Yeah.
Aye,
yeah.
Definitely.
That's right. Okay, we've clarified that for anybody who was a little bit upset about that last week. Joining us on the call from Spain, no less, on his holidays, Mr. Rob Kelly. Hopefully we can hear you okay, Rob. Another question from Danny Young to hit you with. Do you think the stoppage on the Eubank versus Yildirim fight was too early? Andy did mention this.
No, definitely not. Just from the way he hit the deck and everything, I think the count would have...
Speak a bit closer to your mic, Rob.
No, can you hear me now?
A bit more.
Hold on, I'm on the phone, so it's really...
That's better.
No, all right, yes.
Yeah.
I definitely think the stoppage was timed perfectly, to be honest with you. The way he hit the deck and everything, I don't think he would have recovered, and I think he would have been leaving himself open for more punishment. Like, there was no need to see him take punishment. The referee knew what the crack was right away he hit the deck.
That sounds terrible, lads.
Yo, can you hear me now?
Smido has spoken. Just shout as loud as you can, Rob.
Yeah, no, I think the stoppage was perfect. I think from the way he hit the deck that he was out of there. Like, I don't think there was a need for a count. The referee knew what the crack was when the way he went down. Like, I think Andy made a good point. Like, there was no setup to the shot from Eubank. He was just winging it, wasn't it? He hit him with the left hook, and that was all she wrote. Like, Yildirim was trash, really, wasn't he? I think the fighter anyone that with a good jab is going to beat Eubank. Like, I think if you go to war with him and you want to start swinging and that, like, with his speed and stuff, you're going to leave yourself open to get caught like that. But if you can get on the jab against him, I think you could probably beat him quite easily. Like, I think Groves probably beats him quite easily. But I don't want to take too much credit away from him because he's gone away from home. He wasn't fighting a stiff per se. That's probably the first live body that he's got a real genuine win over. You know what I mean? Not the likes of Spike O'Sullivan or Blackwell or whatever. So he's moved up to world level, I guess. The future for him, I think he's waiting to be exposed, so to speak. But I don't think we learned much from him. Like, I think like, we haven't seen him display one punch knockout power before, so I think it's just a case that he caught the guy clean, and that was it. It was one of those things. Like, he was swinging and winging shots, and I think anybody with a good straight jab was going to beat him.
Okay, moving on. Gabe, I'll bring you in now. But just before I do, actually, we had a message in on the Facebook page just before we started from Marvelous Mendo. He's actually nominated me for Bellew of the Week. I said last week, 16-0, 10 KOs, 5'11", 26, and right in his prime. He's got decent wins on his record. That was me bigging up Yildirim. Marvelous Mendo has brought these words back to haunt me. He said, this is the kind of Bellew of the Week stuff the so-called boxing experts were saying about Yildirim prior to this fight. Well, after the result, do the panel think it's time for them to crawl to Brighton with their toothbrush in their mouth to clean the royal behinds of senior and junior in the hope they may have snippets of the warrior code bestowed upon them? Mr. Steve Wellings, get ready for a road trip to the promised land. What do you think, Gabe? Do you think I'm going to be having to go down to Brighton and cleaning senior and junior's arsehole with a toothbrush?
I think that guy can get fucked. That's what I think. I was on the same page as you. I was thinking he could win. So I guess if you got to make the trip, I guess I'm gonna have to make the trip too, brother. We
Get
all
your
make
rubber
that.
gloves, Gabe, and let's go. Come on.
I may have to. I just felt like going into the fight that he was going to perform better. It was kind of weird how he was, when they got in close, he was smothered and he wouldn't throw any punches. He wasn't working. He was just kind of sitting there leaning up against him, and they looked like they were just kind of trying to push back and forth a little bit, but there wasn't even that much action. So the guy completely, to me, just crapped out on what I thought he was going to do. I thought he would come out with his jab a little bit more, and I thought that he would be a little bit more active. I didn't think he was going to be, outworking Eubank at all, but I thought that it was going to be much more. He was going to be much more active than he was, and I thought he did some okay things, but he just overall just never really was there. And I think if you stand there in the ring with a guy like Eubank, like he did, you're bound for trouble. I think he probably has a decent beard, but I mean, his defense just wasn't going to stand up to it. You know, it's anybody. I mean, it reminds me of the Nate Campbell fight where he stuck his chin out and got floored. You know, you can't do that kind of thing. So I don't think he went in with a good strategy. And I think as far as the question, that's fair play. I think we both get Bellew of the week on that one because I was right there with you. I think I actually tweeted it out that I was picking Yildirim. So if you go, I'm going. But I say that guy can get fucked first.
Gabe has spoken to you, Marvellous Mendo. Talking about Nate Campbell there, Gabe was referring to the Robbie Peden fight in Australia. Very good fighter was Nate Campbell, very underrated. I thought took a lot of undefeated records, but he was beating Peden so easily. I think it was about the 6th or 7th round. He started to just literally drop his hands and just stand there. He thought Peden couldn't hurt him. Well, boy, was he wrong. A left hook just completely knocked him out of his senses and knocked him clean out. Andrew Selby was doing a bit of that last night as well, but we shall move on to that, Smido. I shan't bog you down in that type of talk at the moment. We all knew what Yildirim needed to do to win. I don't think he had the ability, Smido, but what he could do is keep the hands high, trying to avoid the uppercut, trying to smother Eubank, work the body. He landed a few good body shots, but he tried to go macho with Eubank. He tried to say, look, I can go toe-to-toe with you. I will throw with you. And that was his big mistake because he wasn't fast enough, and Eubank just got the big punches in on him before Yildirim could even throw. He looked sluggish.
Yeah, going toe-to-toe was a bad idea. And I still think that Eubank's, quite reckless, especially when he's going in for the kill. But there's absolutely no denying, even from non-believers like me and Andy, that last night that punch that finished the fight was probably one of the best punches Eubank's ever landed. None of us really had him down as a one-punch knockout artist, but amongst a flurry of plenty of punches, that was one of the only ones that landed. So fair play to him to that. When I watched the fight back this morning, I thought that Eubank jabbed really well. The best I've seen him jab in the first couple of rounds. Controlled the fight, bobbing and jabbing and moving, and then going in for the flurries when he felt comfortable. I thought that was good to see from Eubank. He did look like he'd grown into the weight a little bit better than his previous couple of fights at Super Middle, especially the Abraham one. But speaking to one of our regular listeners earlier today, he knows who he is, and his couple of observations were that Eubank was very lackluster in the clinch, almost like it. I'm no expert on inside work, but having watched it back, he was oddly even engaging in the clinch. He was just kind of walking forward and letting it happen rather than initiating it himself. So I think that might be a worry for him when he fights someone who's more accomplished in that game. And the other observation was how I know I said he'd grown into the weight. That's what I thought myself personally. But whenever the camera was on Yildirim, you couldn't when it was on the back of Yildirim, you could hardly see Eubank. So again, coming up against the Groves, I think we'll see a significant size advantage in that fight for Groves. The finish was typical Eubank, really. I've watched it a couple of times, as a few as would have seen it on the old highlight reel. 23 punches thrown and 2 or 3 landed. It's and as Andy said, grossly out of balance at times during that, winging punches from all different angles. But as we say, in the end, it got the job done. I think the stoppage was correct, but the way it was administered was probably not. I don't think it was one of them that didn't cater for a count at all. I think there should have probably been a count given and then a decision made at the end of that. It would have probably still got to the same decision. It just wouldn't have looked like, as panicky. Like his dad, but I did like the standing over him when he'd done the job. I kind of like that, to be fair. And I don't normally get engrossed in the Eubank stuff. But this talk about Eubank, he's going to go on and win it. I went to the gym this morning, and that's the first thing that someone said to me, Eubank will beat Groves. I'm not too sure. I'm a detractor of Groves, as I am of Eubank, but I would have Groves the favourite at this stage, assuming that he does win next week.
Hopefully, Smido, just before you jump away there, the thing is with Eubank, I think we saw last night, and I've been a detractor of his in the past as well. The guy has talent. He's very fit. He's very fast. And I just want to see him fight the best available opposition. I don't want him to pull out this tournament. I don't want to see him running around with this IBO thing when he could be clearing up much better at levels of opposition. I just hope that he fulfills his potential, whatever that is. I don't want him to see him having these breaks and taking strange fights and thinking that he's doing all these things. Let's just see him fight the best, Smido, and just see how good he is.
Yeah, and I think the pure fact that he signed up to this means that he is going to fight some of the best, not all the best. You know, we've been through that. You know, the super middleweight tournament is lacking compared to the cruiserweight one. But the mere fact he signed up to it, obviously that doesn't guarantee his full participation, but it's certainly a signal of intent. And you know, hopefully, he stays a part of it. He fights Groves and he can prove himself. He is entertaining. He does capture the imagination to the casual fan. He genuinely does. To say that he's not got the Matchroom and Sky springboard, I would go as far to say that in the last, you know, since the Matchroom monopoly, I don't think there's been an English fighter that people have spoke to me about more than Eubank away from Matchroom. So, is fair play to him, and like you say, his fitness does really. I think we are going to see the rewards of that when the fights get tougher. And he's obviously entertaining. He throws them uppercuts, highlight reels galore. And he's going to be in some entertaining fights. He looks like he's got a decent chin at this stage. So yeah, we're going to see some good fights.
Joining us on the call now, he's on to talk about the Scottish fight card that was on Friday night, actually. He was ringside, Joe O'Neill from irishboxing.com. But let's get him in. Why not, Joe? About the fight last night, did you manage to see much of Eubank Yildirim? What's the overriding thoughts and feelings?
I actually didn't, Steve. I was at a show in the National Stadium in Dublin. I caught the knockout. A good prediction by yourself on Yildirim. I suppose, he had his chin up. He was near the ceiling, your man Yildirim. It's the first time I've seen Eubank have a one punch sort of stoppage like that in a good long time, since his journeyman days. I still don't know if he'd be able to handle Groves' jab, but I suppose we'll probably see soon enough because I can't see Cox doing much next week or the week after.
Excellent stuff. I deserve that, Joe, for forgetting that you're at the Red Corner show last night, and of course you wouldn't have seen any of the action. So I'll take my Yildirim L. You can lay it in on me like the other boys. It was a bit of a bad pick, wasn't it? You were making the pick, I suppose, of not actually having seen him. You were going more dimensions wise, and it was a good numbers pick, I suppose, more than anything. And he was a good value. I'll take that. Right, let's move on. Anything from the undercard, Andy? Me and you had an interesting stream, which was quite a funny angle. There wasn't really a lot to get excited about. Anthony Agogo was on the commentary. Not really a big fan of him. What do you think?
Yeah, I know he'd fought that Stephen Hertel. I think he might have fought him at London actually, 2012 in the quarterfinals. He fought Viktor Polikov. I fought Polikov, the Russian. I might be Ukrainian actually. I thought he won the fight by a couple of points. Hertel gets the majority decision. And cruiserweight division back on notice, mate. Firat Arslan with a 7-round knockout against some sort of, I don't know what he was actually, some sort of Argentinian. You know what like these guys. And that was a kind of check left, took he landed that, and the boy just kind of went down like a fucking bank statement.
Is Arslan 47?
How old is he?
He's 47.
47.
Wow.
And I was going to say, I suppose Arslan, he's going to be competent enough, I suppose, against guys at that level, like your Argentinian cab drivers and stuff. But European level maybe, but he doesn't belong in the world scene. I think he's just basically an undercard filler. There are a couple of guys come in there like Dennis Radovan, that Timo Schwarzkopf, they call him Leon Bauer. These guys were getting a kind of like heavy push here last night. So if these are the guys that the kind of German scene are kind of waiting to come through and stuff, I wouldn't be holding up any hopes for these guys.
Yeah, you're a connoisseur of the German scene like me, Andy, back in the old RTL, ZDF days with Wilfried Sauerland, Klaus-Peter Kohl. You had Sturm, Erdei, Baljai, Vladimir Virchis, all these guys. That the names just aren't there at the moment, are they?
Stanislav and all the guys, what do you call them? Who's a couple of Hungarian guys over in there. Yeah, it's dying. I mean, I think we mentioned a couple of weeks or a couple of months back actually when Abraham got beat off Eubank and stuff. There's nobody kind of coming in behind there. Sturm's fucked off to Bosnia because he's up on offer for a jail sentence for the PED use and stuff, and Klitschko's retired. There's nothing. There's absolutely zero coming through. Huck's been washed up. Unless Usyk's going to start and try and make his base in Germany, I don't know who else is going to try and kind of fill in there.
A far cry from the days of Kai Kurtzower and Bert Schenk and all those. I'm sure nobody else remembers these fighters. Sebastian Sylvester. Yes.
Stop throwing these names out. You've been shown up as a Yildirim casual. You don't need to go through the German names from the 90s to get your reputation back. Come on.
My reputation's damaged. I'm a so-called expert, Smitho. I'll take that at the moment. What about Thomas Ulrich?
Never heard of him. Don't care.
I think he got knocked out by Thomas Adamick. Anyway, we should move on.
Axel Schultz, the guy who East German who's just nowhere riddled with the roids. That one,
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah. Anyway, we should not throw any more names out. Smitho is quite correct. Gabe, just before we move on, Eubank will fight now Groves against Cox, the winner of that fight. We are going to be discussing that fight in the previews at the end. Do you think Eubank has the beating of either of those guys, Gabe, Groves or Cox?
I think he beat Cox, but not Groves. I think Groves is going to take him down a peg. I just think he's a little bit probably sharper from a fundamental standpoint, I suppose. I think he's going to pretty much take the fight and make it look fairly easy. I'm not saying it won't be a close fight, but I think at the end of the day when that fight happens, and I guess I'm giving you my prediction for the fight later on so you know where I'm at, but I think there'll be some moments for Eubank. I mean, he's got some intangibles that, no matter what you do, he's going to have some spots. But I think in the end, it's going to be Groves fairly clear, fairly easily.
Spoiler alert, everybody. Gabe has made his pick. We shall see how that transpires next week. Enough of that German action. On to the Manchester Arena. British Boxing Board of Control Commission. Eddie Hearn, obviously. Anthony Crolla getting the win over Ricky Burns on points. Sam Eggington lost the European title fight against Mohamed Mimoun. We'll talk about that shortly, rightly in my opinion. Robbie Barrett lost to Lewis Ritson. Didn't actually see that one. Scott Cardle got a win. Gavin McDonnell, Hosea Burton, Charlie Flynn. Saw a bit of him, like the look of him. And who else? Conor Byrne as well, knocked out hapless Nathan Clark in about a minute and a half. Rob Kelly's jumped back on. Hopefully we're hearing you loud and clear, Rob. I believe you saw the Crolla-Burns fight. It was one of those ones where I was just wandering around in the background after about round 3. Didn't really see too much. Maybe you can fill me in.
Yeah, I thought Ricky was doing really well in the first 4 rounds. He was on the jab and that, and Crolla doesn't offer too much with the high guard and everything like. And I think he just kind of ran out of steam. It was a nothing fight really. Like there wasn't too many highlights or too. The highlights of the fight were probably Ricky Burns' shots, the Apollo Creed shots. Like, I think Ricky's been to the well one too many times. I said last week if I thought Crolla was going to beat Ricky Burns, it's because Ricky's had too many fights and he's just slightly past it. He didn't dominate Ricky by any stage. I suppose he outboxed him, but he never looked like stopping him or anything. But Ricky maybe just. It might be just time to call it now for him. It depends on what type of level he wants to operate at. If he wants to continue making some money in the UK, he probably has another fight out there. I think people, he could definitely get another fight at British level. But if you're Ricky and you're after winning 2 world titles, like do you want to keep, his record so far was he's only lost to like good guys, and now I lost to Crolla on his record. I don't know where I see him, and it was a strange fight at the catch weight and everything as well. You know what I mean? But fight kind of panned out the way we expected. I think, wasn't it?
Pretty much, Rob. Do you think he could end up with one of these guys, a bit like a Howard Clark, who was doing decent at one time, even fought Fernando Vargas for the world title, and they ended up with about 54 losses on his record?
No, I think the people around him will talk to him now. I think Ricky will know himself as well. You know what I mean? I think he probably knew coming into this fight that maybe there was one too many miles on the clock. And I don't want to sound like I'm doing the guy a disservice because he's been an absolutely brilliant ambassador for the level of fighter that he is to achieve what he has, like over Martinez and being there with Crawford, and he's had a great career. I just don't want to see him kind of spin out with another 2 or 3 losses. I think he's probably better off maybe if he's going to have a fight, have one more fight and call it a day.
Well said, Rob. Smido, when I said to Rob I wasn't really paying attention after about round 3, I'm telling the truth. I'm assuming the rounds were just going by pretty much the same, one after another. I switched over to Selby Flores. Was that a mistake?
I didn't have the option, Steve, because I was there. It just never really caught fire. I think Ricky was struggling to pull the trigger a little bit, to my looking, from my view. And I thought after about 5 or 6 rounds, if you're getting outboxed and out-jabbed by Anthony Crolla, it's probably time to call it a day. We know what Crolla is. He's a massively improved fighter from, 5 or 6 years ago when I was there watching him getting knocked out in 6 rounds by Darry Matthews. And he's come a long way, and we all know his story. But I thought Ricky would have had the size, length advantage and boxing skill advantage, really, but he just didn't. We all know that they're both on the way down, and it's just clear last night that Burns has gone further down the hill than Crolla has. I think that's probably fair to say. Like I say, it never really caught fire. They worked the body okay, the pair of them at times. And I thought around the 8th round that Crolla was starting to possibly slow down a bit. I was expecting Ricky to come on, but he never really, was able to put his foot on the gas. I think Ricky took, 2 or 3 of the last 4 or 5 rounds. But I think I had it 8-4, no commentary. But I was just quite bored at times, to be honest. Come back to me on the undercard, Steve, because I'm gonna have a rant about the card in general.
Balls deep.
Yes.
Smido's going balls deep. Stay tuned for that, everybody. Joe O'Neill, just looking at Crolla and looking at Burns, 6 losses and 3 draws for Crolla, 6 losses and 1 draw for Burns, 7, mate, that's 7 losses now. I mean, looking at these two guys, you look at Burns early on in his career getting beaten up by Carl Johansson, Joe, and then you look at Crolla signing with Frank Warren, big things expected, got a couple of losses, got released. Eddie picked him up in exciting fights. These are two guys, really, who've overachieved, considering after, 15, 20 fights or whatever in their career, maybe a bit less. They didn't look like they were going to be aspiring to world title level anyway.
Well, yeah, actually, I remember the show. Do you remember Macklin against Jorge Sebastian Hyland? Crolla was on the undercard there in a 6-rounder against a guy called Nizai, who was actually the
Nizai Jr. That's right, yeah.
He was the headliner last night against Noli Murphy, but Crolla was awful that night, and there was actually a good moment. I remember watching it back on Sky, that Bernard Dunn was one of the pundits, and Hearn was in the ring, and they announced that Crolla was going to fight for the world title, and they turned to Bernard Dunn and were like, do you think he's ready? And Dunn very bluntly and on Sky. And I just remember from watching him that night, but how much he came on since the horrible incident that happened to him. He really, he just went, he just improved so much. But then again, I do feel that he's been slightly overrated with the wins against Perez and Barroso. I think Barroso was built up a bit too much following the Mitchell. He beat a very faded Mitchell, and he was suddenly turned into he was built into this crazy, almost unbeatable challenger. And obviously, when Crolla won, it made it seem a lot more. Just I feel like Perez was in no great shape, and Barroso again wasn't great. And going into the Linares fight, I even think that Crolla's 3 world title fights before Linares has led to a overrating of Linares almost from Sky viewers and stuff. You have the whole he's top 10 pound for pound, and
yeah,
I thought Campbell could have maybe pulled an upset a couple of weeks ago, purely on that sort of boxers being overrated by beating overrated. And what I love Linares and I think he is not as good as he's made out to be, and that's partly due to him beating Crolla twice, who I believe has been overrated a lot. I actually, again, maybe I just have something against Crolla, but I was thinking Burns would have too much pedigree for him last night. But I haven't seen the fight, but from what it sounds like, Burns is a bit gone now. I was watching the Eddie Hearn interview this morning, and he was trying to sell the line that Burns proved that he had plenty more to give, but from what I've been told by anyone who watched it, he doesn't.
Yeah, Andy, Joe makes some good points there. Do you think that this fight should have happened obviously a few years ago? Was it just one of those ones where Eddie's happy to send them their separate paths, and then all of a sudden, what should we do with him? What should we do with him? Oh, we'll put them together. It's a bit of a natural.
Well, I think it was, as I said last week, there was no title on the line. It was one of them where there wasn't really so much where else to go, and it's not often we see Eddie actually match his own fighters, kind of in-house fighters and stuff. So it was probably just enough to they shifted a fair number of tickets. I think it was like between 10 and 14,000 sold there last night. Based off that, Burns is not going to retire. I can probably almost guarantee that. I've always said this before, way back in the days. Burns wants to have about 100 fights. Whether he needs to go down to 6 rounders at some point, I think that's going to have to happen. If he's not beating the likes of Crolla, then I don't even want to see him try to kind of go for the British title again, because that's the type of guy you should be fighting. That guy's a super featherweight. And it says that if anything, it's what I did think last week, is what I did say, is I thought Crolla, well, Tommy said he was slightly fresher, but I did think, on the inside it was going to be actually suiting Crolla, and that's what he did, left hooks to the body. Burns, for all his straight shots, stuff like, he misses a lot of right hands and stuff, and he's been like that over the course since he's been with Tony Sims. He's definitely on the slide. He's definitely no kind of like chat him at the door for like a journeyman level or whatever not anymore. I think he's doing it to like domestic level. What is he, 35, 36 now? As I say, if you're not beating the likes of Crolla, and you're like Crolla likes to kind of tee off, and I'm no kind of 2 down on the scorecards or whatever. I did think Crolla probably won it by 2 or 3 points. I know Fox was giving it a few even rounds there last night. It was awful. I mean, I was trying my best to try and kind of keep my eyes on that, but as you say, I was like 4 or 5 rounds into it. I said, this is getting shite. This is getting tedious, and that's the way it kind of turned out. There was absolutely, I kind of got the impression as well of Adam Smith. I heard it at least twice talking about a potential rematch. I don't know why people want to see a rematch of that shit. I know people want to see a first fight. As you say, Steve, the fight was probably too late. We've now got Eddie Hearn saying that Flanagan's have to take the kind of lower end of the stick and that they get a fight with Crolla and that for whatever reason. It's just a lot of shite. Just like that. That fight last night. I let the rest of them come in on the undercard, and that it wasn't great, was it? It was. I'll mention a wee bit about the French guy later on and stuff. I thought Barrett Ritson was decent for what I saw of it anyway. I never saw anything else. I seen Charlie Flynn, obviously. Conor Ben looking like world class and stuff like that. He's going to beat Eubank one of these days, like the rest of the tweeters saying all that sort of shit, So, Crolla Burns, it was shit. It was pretty poor. And I says the only reason it got made is because both had nowhere to go. There were no in line for any sort of title shot, so plus it was probably an easy fight for both to make. Does Burns retire? See, to be honest, Burns could fight Taylor if he wants. That is his payday, especially in Scotland. That fight will sell out. I don't care what anybody says there, but it's a payday for Josh Taylor, but it's hazard pay, in my personal opinion, for Ricky Burns.
Gabe, question for you from Danny Young, third and final question from Danny. He says, Crolla versus Burns look like 2 fighters past it, both past their best. Apart from a Flanagan fight for Crolla, are both just washed up now after that?
I don't think that they're going to be top caliber guys to put in fights. I think there's a certain value that they bring in terms of what they've accomplished in their careers. But at this point, I don't think that you really want to put either one of those guys in top-notch fights, especially Burns. Burns last night to me looked just off all night long. His timing was off. He looked like he was having a hard time letting his hands go a little bit. He just looked overall tired, like we see a lot of guys look towards the end of their careers when they're starting to wind down and they kind of know the end's coming. Like there just wasn't a lot of fire to it. And the match wasn't bad. I thought the match was okay. I thought Crolla looked sharp, but at the same time, you kind of have to put that in perspective because, not to say anything bad about Ricky Burns, I just think it was a one of those fights that you see where one guy looks sharper, the other guy doesn't look so good. And I honestly, I just don't think either one of them are going to be able to make it back up to the top of the heap again. I wouldn't say they're both completely shot to shit. You know, depending on who you put them in with, they could put some good fights on. But Crolla, after last night, looks like he might have the better chance to excel moving forward.
Yeah, Rob Barnett has sent a message to me on Twitter. He said, I said ages ago, Burns is one of the worst 3-weight world champions ever. You do not lose to Crolla if you're genuine, says Rob. Smido, I know you want to go in on the undercard. Just before you do, let me just hit you with this one from Rio Tonka. It's regarding the Crolla versus Flanagan possible fight that could get made now. Is 50-50 fair, says Rio Tonka, for Crolla versus Turbo, considering they need each other to sell out the MEN? Turbo is the champ and Crolla sells slightly more tickets, although not as many tickets as we would have you believe. Personally, says Rio, I don't think this will happen, as both Gallagher and Hearn know that Turbo would be a heavy favourite and it would be on BT, not Sky. What do you think, Smido? Flanagan's the champ. Crolla hasn't got a title anymore. Where does the money go? Is it 50-50, 60-40? Who has the favourite edge here?
Steve, I don't really care about the money, as you know, but it probably is close to 50-50 now. I've been to both Crolla and Flanagan fights this year. I've sat in the same spot, and I tell you now, Crolla sells more tickets. Terry Flanagan, when he fought, I'm not kidding you, there was less than 2,500 people in that arena. It was after the Williams and Smith fight, and all them fans, the majority of Welsh and Liverpool fans, went home. The fight was stinking against Petrov, and people continued to flow out throughout the fight. So Flanagan don't get anywhere near Crolla in terms of selling tickets. It was by no means full last night. Parts of the top section were open, parts of it were closed. But for the Flanagan fight, the top section wasn't even open at all. In terms of 50-50, probably, Crolla's the kind of, you know, he's the more famous of the two, bigger ticket seller as we've just mentioned. But you know, Flanagan's got the belt. But I just can't see it happening. There's just too much of a divide, and as you say, there's probably too much risk from a Tesco Joe point of view. But there's too much of a divide. What channel will it end up on? I don't think Eddie Hearn's in the mood to be letting Crolla go and fight on BT. But as for the card in general,
yes.
I'm not going to try and be clever after the event. I didn't mind the main event last week, or when it was made. I didn't mind the main event. Obviously, it's turned out to be not so great. We knew what we was in store for. Two guys who were back past the best. We've mentioned that before, and we mentioned it already tonight. But you know, Sam Eggington, I kind of lost interest in that fight. The Mimune, or whatever his name was just trying to do that spin off his right shoulder all night long. It was one of them. Eggington was pushing the action and Mimune was running. It wasn't an exciting fight. Someone pointed out to me correctly that it was a mandatory. It was Eggington's mandatory for the European title, but still should it be chief support on Sky? Once upon a time, Eddie told us that as many Saturday night fight nights as possible were going to involve world titles. This had nothing near close to a world title. Last night, you've got Conor Benn on primetime TV in a 6-rounder. Conor Benn, he's the chief support.
I was waiting to say chief support, mate. I was just going to say that.
Conor Benn is chief support on Sky Sports. That's what you're paying £59 a month for. Like, it's an absolute joke. And the opponent was a joke, and he's won within a round. And even in his interview last night, Eddie's admitting that when he signed Conor Benn, he's being honest, I only signed him because of his name. But now he's developing well, you know. But it's fair enough. He's got no amateur experience or very little amateur experience. I've got no problem with that. But you shouldn't be learning your time in the game on prime time Sky at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night. I just don't understand it. The Eggington fight was, you know, from a Styles point of view, it was never going to work. We could have predicted that it was never going to work. Obviously, you know, he's had to have the fight mandatory, but should that be? Obviously, it was billed as chief support. It didn't turn out that way. Conor Benn was. Who gives a flying fuck about Scott Cardle, Gavin McDonnell, Jose Burton, and Marcus Morrison in 6-rounders on the undercard? What, like that? That should be happening on, you know, I just don't know. That should be happening on a local card, on a Steve Wood card somewhere.
Didn't Marcus Morrison lose recently to Tyan Booth?
Did he not get dropped a few times last night during that fight?
I don't know. I don't know. There's nothing mentioned on BoxRec. But yeah, he's in. You know, them four guys there. Yeah, they've got to come back. They've all had losses or bad performances. Morrison and McDonald, Burton, and Cardle have all got to a certain level and failed. Right, that's fine. They're carrying on in the game, no problem. They've got to build it back. But I know they've been. I don't know who was on TV, but the 3 TV fights last night. Robbie Barrett against Ritson. I was quite looking forward to that. I don't think either of them are really connected to Matchroom or Sky, and it was a bit of a filler, but I think it was of a decent-ish standard. Robbie Barrett's obviously, he was the favourite, and he's come up short. To be fair, but I didn't watch it, but it sounded like a half decent fight. But the top end of the card was just shit, really. And I just they play the Eddie Hearn mega mix, and lads, it fucking works. Like people are up. They're videoing it, and buffers that they got Buffer there on however much they pay him to get his words wrong, and they play Sweet Caroline and Madhouse or whatever they call jump around, and everyone's a winner. But that's just the timing we live in. But and then all we've got to look forward to is a next gen that again none of us care about. Like it's just we've said this for a long time. Anything above distinctly average, and last night was distinctly average. Anything above that, and we're paying £15 for it. I'm just baffled, Steve. To be honest,
Yeah.
I'm just got people are like even last night, and I know I was obviously going to the show. People were asking me, "Oh, what do you think of this fight?" Before I turned up last night, I couldn't have even told you who Sam Egginton's opponent was until I got there. Like I'm going off the game. I'm concentrating on horse racing. I've said this before, but I mean it. Yeah, I really am.
You quitting live on air, Smitho?
I'm not quitting live on air because I know a lot of people tune in just to listen to me, Steve. But I'm considering it.
Yeah, well, from one Adam Smith to another, Andy, Stephen Jones was on the Facebook page going on about Sky's repetitive commentary. He says, why does Adam Smith say after every single fight, we want to see this again? Just before you jump in, Andy, I just want to say a thing about this. I've noticed the Sky commentary, as many other people have, and me and you sort of getting into the boxing on the back end of Harry Carpenter, Reg Gutteridge's careers, into Ian Darke and all that. And I think that the Sky have a line that they don't want any dead air. That is why Smith, Frotch and everybody just talk constantly through every fight. Adam Smith never shuts up and takes a breath. I think they are told by the powers that be as an editorial decision, no dead air, no silence. But the older commentators, Andy, they would have sometimes not talked for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, just to let a fight breathe. And I prefer that style myself.
The one thing that you actually described, or we've mentioned it before, is when they actually don't talk and let it breathe, as you say, it actually forces you to actually sit there and watch the fight. I mean, how often have people actually complained about, like, say, Frotch or what do you call him who got sacked, Holland, or what? When they were talking during like a close round or whatever, there was just constantly talk, and you're trying to kind of watch the fight. They're kind of setting the narrative for you, so subconsciously you think to yourself, okay, did I see that round right? Did fighter A win that round compared to what I actually thought maybe fighter B won that round? So they're constantly putting the same cliched shit out there. Frotch is the biggest fence sitter since fucking who was the last one? I forget his name for the forum anyway, but Frotch is always just putting in 10-10 rounds and stuff like that. Well, that's my opinion. Find a fucking winner. It's a 10-point must system. A winner of the rounds got to go. And this is the same old shite again. People probably fucking scared to score 10-9 rounds all the time because they're worried about giving or handing in slightly wide scorecards in case they get shit for it. And Adam Smith constantly just recites the same fucking shite. It's like, oh, he's all so very brave and he's putting so much hard effort, so very, very hard as he worked for his fight. The same old fucking shite every week. And to be honest, I've actually given Smith credit in the past actually for being no bad and stuff, especially compared to Nick Holland. The guy's a commentator like God. But fuck me, last night was a bit bad in patches. I like Matthew Macklin when he's on speaking sometimes, especially when he's giving the main commentary. Other than that, there's really got anybody. Frotch is just fucking tired. He doesn't watch boxing apart from like when he's sitting there. None of these guys actually kind of like speak about any other champions or any other fighters out with the Matchroom stable. I heard Flanagan get mentioned last night, but I don't know if they were getting if it was getting done as a bet within the house or whatever to mention his name. But it was just fucking awful. And it's the same shit every fucking time we get them. And God knows what's going to be like for this Pulev AJ fight is going to come up shortly, and that because we all know what's going to happen here. They're going to sell that like a fucking dead horse.
Thing is, though, Andy, Adam Smith's, all of his little phrases are like euphemisms, aren't they? Like, he's looking across at the corner. That means hopefully he's going to get stopped soon. This is a fascinating fight. It's boring as hell. Oh, he's got so much heart. He's really put it all in. He's technically limited and shit and getting a pounding.
Yeah, as I say, he always keeps saying one of the favourite lines, oh, they've trained so very, very hard. Well, of course, shithead. They fucking spent 8 months in fucking camp trying to make fucking weight as it is. Of course, they're going into a fucking fight for 12 rounds. Of course, they're going to train fucking hard for it, you prick.
Gabe, did you get to see any of the undercard from your American vantage point? Conor Benn, any interest in him?
No, I haven't. I didn't get to see any of it. As far as if I'm interested in him, I think I've seen a bit on YouTube, so maybe some highlights or something, but nothing to me to get too excited about just yet.
No problem, Gabe. Just before we move on, I have a question. Yes, yo.
Sorry, I ended up having a rant in mid-show last night because someone said, "Oh, is Dillian Whyte going to get a title shot against Wilder?" And I just went off on one. I says, "What's Dillian Whyte's best win?" He says, "Chisora." I says, "Well, Chisora's shot, and it was just like two fat whales running at each other for 12 rounds, and he thought it was fight of the year." I says, "No." I says, "I can throw a fucking better right hand than Dillian Whyte." His best punches landed was one left hook on Joshua. The second best punches landed in his career was on Howard Foster, and his second best win is fucking Dave Allen. I don't want to see Dillian Whyte anywhere near a world title shot. And then last week, Eddie Hearn said, and I quote, "He's one of the most feared heavyweights on the planet." Are you winding me up? Dillian Whyte, fuck off. That's what I want to say about Dillian Whyte.
I think Wilder's mandated to fight Stiverne now in this rematch, Smith.
Oh, I can't keep up with who Deontay Wilder's fighting, but I've
Dillian seen
Whyte. Fight anyway. About Dillian Whyte anymore about the Dillian Whyte myth. His best win was a razor sharp decision against a shot and fat Derek Chisora. Don't want to hear anymore.
Go on, Gabe.
He's furious. I did see some reports that said yes, Stiverne is going to be the man now to take the fight. That's all.
Yep. No, that's thanks for that, Gabe. Yes, Andy, did you want to say something about Eggington Mimoun, or did you already have you say? I can't remember.
No, I was just going to mention actually I think I might be the second French guy that's came out here actually and kind of like done the business on two of Hearn's fighters. He boxed pretty well off the back foot. Decent kind of counter punch and stuff. Just going to say that the French scene is really picking up. They've got Karim Gaufrey, he's fighting for the European title next week. Ivan Mendy, I think, was the guy who beat Campbell. He's fighting Joseph Larera. He fought Burns. You've got Tony Yoka back actually next week. You've got another Olympian, is it Soliman Sissoko? French scene's really picking up, and they've got a lot of TV money going on in the scene over there just now. So I would actually kind of keep an eye out for some of these French guys starting to make a push in the next couple of years because based off the last two that I've seen in the UK anyway, they seem to be no bad and they seem to be picking up.
Yeah, this Mimoun could become the scourge of the UK fighters. It reminds me of a guy around the year 2000 called Afif Jelti. Everybody knows I'm a fan of the Obscura, so I quickly bought his box record up there. He came over in 2000 and won the IBO title, which Sky were peddling at the time, by knocking out Charlie Shepherd, who was a decent fighter around the British scene. He then returned, and then his next fight in Manchester, and won a unanimous decision against Ian McLeod. And then again, the Frenchman came over and knocked out Dean Pithy in Coventry. Pithy was a decent wee boxer as well. And then 2 fights later, he returned to knock out Alex Moon in 2001 for the IBO title. So Afif Jelti, everybody. I think he was about near 40 at that stage as well.
Who was the big cruiserweight guy again? Is it Tizzo? What was his first name?
Oh, Fabrice Tiozzo.
I think he had a couple of decent ones against some old ex-names. I need to go back and check his record, but I think he's got a couple of decent ones on his resume anyway. Yeah,
so I remember him. I'll have to look up his box set like you, Andy. I can't remember who he beat now. Joe, I know you didn't see anything from the Crolla Burns card, so I'm not going to hit you with any of that. Just to go back to Eubank very briefly, actually, we had a question in from Simon Luckhurst. Now, feel free, Joe, to say yes, no, or elaborate as much as you want on this, but it's a list. I usually hit Tommy with these, but he's not here tonight. So what do you think, Joe? Who do you think Eubank Jr. beats out of this list? So who does Eubank Jr. beat? George Groves? Does Eubank Jr. beat him or not?
close. Eubank, I feel, has a lot of he's a product of really good matchmaking recently. That he's great against guys like Abraham and Yildirim who walk forward, but someone who can move around the ring and someone with a lovely jab, I don't think he would beat George Crolla. Obviously, George is fragile and there's always question marks over his stamina, but I think he's too good. He's too much pedigree, I think.
And what about James DeGale? Do you think Eubank would beat him?
Probably not.
Just losing you slightly there, Joe, actually.
Miles away there, mate. Aye.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Perfect. Go ahead.
I'm a big fan of James DeGale, and I think he's probably the UK's he's probably the most underrated fighter. Like, I'd argue that he's pound number one in the UK if you're not including. Actually, he probably is. Like, there's argument over him, or it depends how much stock you give to the Badu Jack fight if you're going to give him credit for a draw there. But yeah, no, I think he's just like his pedigree is the main. Like, I just think he'd be too good.
I've got a few on my list here, actually. What about the Durrell brothers' favourites on this podcast, Andre and Anthony? Do you think they'd have the beating of Eubank?
Well, actually, there you go. I think he. You're going to have to excuse me with the names of the Durrell. I'm not sure which one's which. There's off top. The one that was in the Super Six.
Andre.
And him, and then Anthony is the one who fought DeGale, Martin saying, yeah.
No, that was Andre as well. Anthony fought. Let me think. Periban, Sakio Bika.
Yeah, actually, well, Andre is the better one as see, they learned a one from me. Those two lads. But yeah, I would say he'd have the beating of either of them, because Uskat guy gave Anthony or Andre a good fight during the summer, and again,
Fucking knocked him out, did he? No, he knocked him out. Then he
but then he was disqualified, wasn't he?
I've always said that blow was legit. I mean, how the fuck can you get disqualified when you're actually in the process of throwing a 3-punch combination and then in mid combo the fucking bell goes?
That was bullshit. That was
yeah.
Final one, Joe. Gilberto Ramirez. He's not a big puncher, but quite a tricky southpaw. How do you think he would get on against Eubank Jr.?
Tricky southpaw and very, very, very big. I see just from watching his last two fights. Again, I'm not excited by the guy Ramirez just to watch, but I think he's a bit. You say tricky. I find him a bit robotic almost, but like I think he'd just be. I'd have him over Eubank as well. He'd just be sort of like he has a very nice jab, and he just sort of outwork him, and he slows fights down a lot. I think, and it just like obviously the hard fight was actually quite good, but. I'd pick him over. Pick him over Eubank as well.
You pick Eubank as well. No, Joe's quite right there. Maybe tricky isn't the right word for Ramirez. He is pretty straightforward. Gabe, final 5 names to you. Same again as I asked you, Joe. Would Chris Eubank Jr. beat any of these? David Benavidez, that would be a good fight, wouldn't it? Gabe?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I think that would actually be a pretty good fight. Yeah. Maybe so. That's to me a 50-50 fight.
What about your man Golovkin? I suppose it depends what weight it would happen at. This, of course, was close to happening before Golovkin had to make do with Kell Brook. Do you think Eubank Golovkin, say, back down at middleweight or somewhere in between?
At middleweight, I'd have to go with I just go with Golovkin at middleweight. At both, if he middleweight or super middleweight, I think although I think he's on the slide, I think he has enough left to beat Eubank.
And this is an interesting one. What about Canelo?
Ah, good call. It depends on the fight. I think he could beat him. I'll tell you why. He's really active. If he pushes the pace and Canelo's stupid enough to stand in front of him, I think he could beat him. I think he has some qualities that would help him out in that fight. You know, he throws a lot of punches. He's very active. I don't think he's gonna, go down as one of the greatest punchers of all time. But but I think he's got enough power, and I think if he to push the pace and be fairly responsible defensively, that could be a pretty good fight too.
Final two, Danny Jacobs up at super middleweight, Gabe, against Chris Eubank Jr.
Danny.
And what about Billy Joe Saunders finally? At either weight.
Super
middle will be a bit too much for Billy Joe, you'd think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, probably so. I think. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I would go with Eubank on that one.
Thanks for that, Gabe. Right, let's move on. Channel 5, Blaine McGuigan Promotions. Yes, Blaine McGuigan is still promoting everybody. Don't mention Frampton. I don't think he was mentioned on the broadcast last night. Andrew Selby, he's the main man now, along with Josh Taylor, of course. Selby defeating Maximino Flores on points. Robin Dupre in the support. Quite an interesting character, this Dupre. His belly was wobbling about all over the place. Got knocked out by Luke Watkins. He's growing on me, this Watkins. Not too bad. Arsenio Byfield, Chantel Cameron, nothing of any interest. What about this big heavyweight, Andy? Just before we go on to Selby, this Martin Bakoli Ilunga. I know that Billy Nelson's giving him the big push. Ozzy was on last week saying that he looked pretty shite in a show he was at. Apparently he didn't impress against Kamil Sokolowski last night. Sokolowski is a decent, tough journeyman, though, Andy, from Poland. This Ilunga is going to take over the world, according to Billy Nelson. Can't say I'm too impressed myself from what I see so far.
I've not seen the fight, mate, but I have recorded it. That guy who fought last night was expected to take him rounds anyway. I think he's been in a few current, supposed top-ranked heavyweights at the minute. Even though he's only got 4 wins or whatever it is, he's generally kind of quite tough. If you ask about the gyms and stuff like that, there seem to be a big impression on Bakoli. He's held his own with Chisora and all those type of guys and stuff, but just going off Bernard McGuigan's comments last night, I did catch some of the highlights and that they weren't too impressed. I suppose he got the win. Some people did say that the 60-55 scorecard was slightly kind of flattering. There was question marks I did see on Twitter that actually he may have, maybe started to kind of gas a little bit around about kind of 4th or the 5th round or whatever it is, which is a bit of concern. But, to be honest, the guy's been doing the rounds, around the gyms and stuff like that and getting a lot of hard sparring on, so you just don't know if it maybe, that's what 3 fights this year. Okay, he's only went 2 fights this year. That's I think he's only went 7 rounds or whatever and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe is he kind of grafting too hard in the gym or whatever it is. I don't know. Maybe he needs a wee bit of time off. I don't know. I know he's fighting on the Josh Taylor card in November, so I'll get a better look at him then. And probably give you a bit kind of better educated opinion on him actually. But just going off like word the ear and stuff. He seems depends who you speak to. He seems to be good. But other people would tend to say is that maybe he's getting slightly overrated a little bit, but we'll just need to wait and see.
Yeah, it reminds me of a heavyweight Gary Hyde bought a few years ago called Vladimir Chanturia. I remember meeting him in the Holiday Inn for a few pictures and an article, and I think he had won silver at the Worlds or silver at the European Championships or something like that, and Gary was saying, he's going to be the next big thing. He knocked out a guy in the Holiday Inn in about a minute, and he never fought again. I think he's retired now. They couldn't get fights for him, unfortunately, so Vladimir Chanturia, there's a name from the past. I know Andy hasn't got around to seeing the main event, Selby Flores, yet. Smido wouldn't have seen it because he was at the Crolla fight. Gabe hasn't seen it. Joe was at the show in Dublin. So it's down to me then, guys. Andrew Selby, I've been a little bit critical of Selby in the past, but I'll be honest, I was actually really impressed with him last night. I thought it was an entertaining fight. Nice, crisp HD on Channel 5. I thought he did well. He dropped the hands a few times and let Flores hit him. Richie Woodall didn't seem to like that. Woodall was getting a bit anal about it, actually, a bit bitter. He was trying to give rounds against Selby because he didn't like his antics, which I think is wrong. He was still landing the best shots and the biggest shots throughout the fight. Really talented, really skilled. Liked what I saw about him, and Flores was a good opponent. They're obviously not holding back with Selby, as you can't do at the lower weight sometimes because it doesn't have the depth at British level and European level. So they're throwing him in against this guy. And I believe they're going to look at Diego Higa, I think it is. I've seen a couple of fights of his, and I wouldn't fancy that, Andy. That Higa looks really damn good from what I saw against Navarrete anyway.
Yeah, he's really good, mate. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not, but I had read reports that this guy's been really given a new way of the business and sparring and stuff, so I don't know how true that is. That's just what I read in some of the websites and stuff. I think Higa would actually stop Selby. I don't know if I said on the podcast or said privately to you guys that I've heard some stories about Selby and stuff. Mentally, I don't know if he's strong enough or tough enough, but if it's going to be one person he's going to fight, is going to test that metal, it's going to be Higa, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him get absolutely stopped. I mean, stopped early doors, maybe 5 or 6 rounds in that fight.
Yeah, I know what you say about Selby there, actually, Andy. He does seem a little bit mentally fragile. Admits he doesn't like boxing, doesn't really want to be in the ring. Paul Dempsey is always like a father figure to him in the interviews on Channel 5. He's always putting an arm around him and he feels a bit sorry for him. But the guy's got talent and I hope he does well for himself. Just briefly mention this Robin Dupre. Like I said, his belly was wobbling about all over the place. Luke Watkins, he's starting to grow on me a little bit. I'd like to see him defend his Irish cruiserweight title against Tommy McCarthy. I think that'll be a good fight. He's won the vacant Commonwealth cruiserweight title anyway. He always seems to box within himself, Watkins. It's as if he doesn't trust his stamina or he looks like he's about to fold, but he gets the job done. He knocked out Dupre, he knocked out Ian Timms, absolutely stretched him out on the Burnett Lee Haskins undercard recently, so he could be one to watch domestically. 11-0 with about 8 or 9 knockouts, so... Andy, I don't know if you've actually seen the fight, but you might want to say a few words against Rex So against Kohei Kono. I actually forgot it was on. I was at work on Saturday, and one of the guys was looking for a stream. I believe it was a bit of a barn burner. Definitely want to find this on YouTube. Yeah,
I'll need to try and find it, mate. I seen a bit of the highlights on YouTube this morning. I don't think I had a chance to see the whole fight yet, but as you said, it was meant to be quite, balls to the wall. Zhao got a really bad swelling in his left side of his face, running about kind of like just above the left eye, so to speak. So it was kind of like one of these big kind of melons sticking out. Fight was stopped in I think it was the 7th round or whatever, and he won the fight 68-66 in all scorecards. But there was concerns that maybe there was a potential brain damage, and he got sent away for an MRI scan. So still waiting for word of that actually. So. I think I said last week I expected Kono to get beat, but for what I saw, actually it seemed to be kind of holding his own. So maybe the potential for a rematch. Hopefully that Zhou's damage isn't too bad.
Hopefully so, Andy. Right, the final fight from the weekend preview, Meadowbank Sports Centre, Edinburgh. Joe O'Neill, assistant editor at irishboxing.com, was ringside for this one. So we'll go through a few of the bits and pieces, Joe. Gary Cornish in the main event, trying to be Scotland's first heavyweight champion, the British heavyweight champion. Didn't manage it. He lost on points to Sam Sexton. Stephen Simmons, bit of a snoozer against Simon Barkley for the vacant IBF East-West cruiserweight title. Stephen Tiffany against Troy James. Troy James, quite a lot thought of him early on in his career when he signed with Barry McGuigan. Tiffany, I was actually impressed with this guy. Reminded me a little bit of Terry Flanagan. He was switching as well from southpaw to orthodox. Got the angles and the distance right and controlled James for most of the fight. Like the look of that Tiffany. Really want to see him again. Paddy Gallagher, fight I was supposed to be covering for the paper. It didn't go on till after midnight. He ended up beating Gary Murray by 10th round knockout. Tommy Philbin looked decent against Reece Pagan. Reece Pagan's not a bad fighter. Paddy Barnes got a win as well. What was the pick of the night's action, Joe?
Can you hear me there? Sorry, I think I was muted.
Yep, go ahead.
Pick of the night's action, probably the Philbin Pagan fight. The atmosphere for it's a lovely. It's the first time I've ever been to Meadowbank, and it's a brilliant arena for boxing. I know it's a bit outdated now, but like just the setup with doesn't have seats, it just sort of has the steps. It's really good for boxing, I felt. The atmosphere for the Cornish fight was something else. It was very, very good, and Tiffany was absolutely brilliant, but it was more of a one-sided fight. But yeah, Pagan against Philbin was a great fight. It was very, very competitive, and there was a big swing in it from Philbin sort of doing the better work early on, and then Pagan coming on very, very strong, nearly hurting him badly in the last round. And I think I actually watched it back today on Box Nation, and they were saying a rematch again, and probably actually a good show. I would like to see that again.
What about Paddy Gallagher, Joe? That was obviously one of the fights that you were covering. Gary Murray, we hear that he's not in such a bad way. How did it go? How did it play out? Did Terry O'Connor should have stopped it, do you think?
Yeah, it actually put a bit of a dampener on the night for me. It was actually a bit of a tough fight to watch. It was actually a very competitive fight. Just the ending of it was a bit disgraceful, a bit sickening actually. Basically Murray, very busy sort of boxer, nice enough jabbing him, and works a lot. Whereas Paddy Gallagher, he doesn't throw a shot that isn't 100%. He throws really heavy shots. Yeah, the guy Murray started well enough. But Paddy Gallagher by the end of the second was already starting like to hit Murray too much. Third and fourth with Gallagher. Fifth round, Gallagher got hit behind the ear, sort of, and was a bit disoriented, and probably Murray got a bit of a hold there. But then Gallagher probably took over again. Sixth, seventh was quiet enough, and eighth and ninth, Gallagher was doing a lot of damage. Eight, like I was even thinking after the eighth that like Gallagher was too far ahead in the scorecards. Murray has no power. He's 12-0 with no knockouts. I like was thinking, would you stop? Maybe think about stopping fight here after this one or the next one. Went to the 10th, and oh my god, it was just horrible. Gallagher had Gallagher hit him square on within about 30 seconds of the round, and like you could see the leg leaden, and he then went onto he just tore into him then for about 30 seconds. At one stage, Tiffany sort of like, he wasn't defending himself. His body was like just limp almost, and he spun out of a sort of a clinch and like started facing the wrong way. So Gallagher went in. They ended up tying up. Gallagher hit him again. Gallagher then actually pulled back, turned to the referee, Terry O'Connor, and actually shouted at him. And because it was empty, it was clear out, you could hear him shout like, "Stop the fucking fight! I'm gonna hurt him."
Yeah.
And Murray, it was again one of the bravest performances. One like he just kept on coming. Murray was almost zombie-like. The referee didn't call break, so Murray just walked forward, like he could barely stand, but he just kept on walking towards. So Gallagher had to hit him back. He hit him a couple of times. He went down, bang. You could hear the head in the canvas. It was disgusting. And then O'Connor said, "No knockdown, slip," and said to Murray like, "Get up." And Murray was nearly unconscious. And he just paused for a second. So then he started counting. And like Murray wasn't moving. And he got to 5 before he waved it off. And then it came in with oxygen and got him out of there. Like, Paddy's old trainer, whose name was the new trainer, he's now with Jerry McManus again, who I believe is a very religious man. And he was in tears in the ring. Like, Gallagher himself was one of the most happy-go-lucky guys you could ever find. And he was upset after it as well. Like, it was a horrible way to end the fight, which was a very competitive fight, but it was one of those fights that was competitive, but
there was a tipping point happened when it wasn't competitive anymore.
It was even like, it was one of those guys. One guy was just slightly better than the other guy and had a lot more power than the other guy, but the other guy just wouldn't go down and had a chin, and it got to a stage where it was almost uncomfortable. Actually, no, almost. It was very uncomfortable to watch, and I just hope that Gary Murray's okay, because like we heard he went off for a CT scan on the night, and then the following morning we were hearing that like he was in a bit of trouble, and obviously now they put out a statement saying that he's stable, but just hope to God he's okay.
Yeah, definitely harrowing stuff on Friday night. They're the side of the game that nobody likes to see. Joe, feel free to stay with us as long as you want tonight, by the way.
Okay, no worries, lad.
Yeah, it reminds me of a fight. I think it was Antonio Tarver against Eric Harding about 2002, 2003, and Tarver was hitting Harding, and Harding just had nothing left. He couldn't throw back, but the referee, Bill Page, just wasn't stopping the fight, and Tarver even stood off him and said, "Right, come on, stop it now," and the ref says, "No, go back in," and then at the end of the fight, Tarver was shouting, "Do you want me to kill him or something?" Eventually it was stopped, so yeah, nobody really wants to see that type of stuff. Anything from the weekend that I might have missed? Sorry, Joe, go on ahead there.
I was just about to say, I was sitting beside another welterweight from Scotland, John Taine,
yes,
who was really good friends with Gary Murray, and even before, like way before the knockdown, like a good 30 or 40 seconds before the fight was ended, like there was sort of like a growing crescendo of like there was not even 200 or 300 people there at this stage, but people started shouting, "Stop the fight!" Even like people were out of their seat. The whole front row, like people were screaming for the fight to be stopped. And I later found out, I don't know how true or official this is, but the cards were level going into the final round. So, and I don't imply any sort of, I don't want to say like any sort of anything untoward, but and obviously O'Connor shouldn't know what the scores were at that stage because it was a Celtic title fight, so there were 3 judges. But maybe if he thought the fight was close, he was trying to keep it. Like if he thought the fight was a close fight, he wasn't going to try stop it in with only a minute or 2 to go. But yeah, like everyone in the whole arena, like screaming stop the fight, sort of like up off their chairs, banging on the canvas, trying to catch O'Connor's attention or something. And he just wouldn't stop it. He just wouldn't stop it.
A brutal sport indeed. Yeah, hopefully Gary Murray's going to be okay. We'll keep you updated if we hear anything about his plight. Smido, we've got a few questions, but I'm going to ask you about a show that's coming up next week, Friday the 13th. This could be a bit of a horror show, actually. Next Gen. Charlie Edwards is on against Matthew Chander, Jason Cunningham against Reece Bellotti. I think this is the Next Gen card, isn't it? It sounds slightly better than some of the fare we've been served up recently, Smid.
Steve, it probably does, but I'm the wrong person to ask. I'm so far against Next Gen being, we're taking dates from Saturday where we should be getting our, food and drink box in, the stuff that we sit and enjoy on a Saturday night. We're now switching some of those dates to a Friday. I'm just not interested at all. I don't give a flying fuck.
Well, this is why I asked you, Smido, because you're not a fan of the Next Gen at all. Do you think this is a way of sort of slipping away a few dates? The next fighters are coming up, but we can't really fill a Saturday, so let's put this on.
Yeah, it's a con. It is a con, Steve, because anything we get above distinctly average, we now have to pay for. It's a con. It's an absolute con, and I'm at the end of my tether with it, to be honest. I will not be tuning in. I do not care. You'll look at the betting on Wednesday or Thursday. They'll all be 1 to 40, 1 to 50, 1 to 100. I'm just not interested, and I would like to know genuinely what the viewing figures are for this, because I don't know. People might tune in on a Saturday. Sam Eggington, for example. We know he lost the other night, but he's been involved in some good fights. He's lost a couple, and he's been involved in some good fights. Cracking fight against Frankie Gavin. You could almost put Sam Eggington in against anyone to prop up a card, and people will think, yeah, that'll be entertaining because he's an entertaining fighter. Last night, obviously, it didn't work out that way with the opponent. But these guys who were fighting on the Next Gen, maybe Charlie Edwards is a little bit of an exception. These Olympians. Not many people know them anyway, so they don't know much about the home fighter. They're going to know shit all about the person that they're in against. So I just don't know how the Next Gen stuff sells, because hardcore fans, I don't know any hardcore fans who watch the Next Gen stuff, and it just seems to be a filler on a Friday night. I don't quite understand it, to be honest. But am I dead against it? I mean, I can't moan both ways, Steve, because I was moaning last night that we got Cardle, Morrison, McDonnell, and Burton in 6-rounders, and then I'm moaning about this Friday against lads who are still developing. I don't know. I mean, back in the day, these lads would have developed on your call shows on a Thursday that weren't on TV, but now they're developing live on Sky on a Friday night. So I don't know. I can't moan too much. I'm not a fan of it. I won't be watching it. I haven't watched it 1 second of any Next Gen show. And when they're ready to be tested, obviously they'll turn up on a Saturday night card or a pay-per-view card. So I don't know. Maybe it is a good. The thinking there is, they're just putting them out there on a Friday, introducing them to the audience. They make apparently they make no bones that they are developing fights, rather than 50-50s. So maybe it is a way to introduce them to Sky Sports fans and Matchroom fans, because that's what we've got now, Steve. We've got people, boxing fans, who are Matchroom fans. That is, that's an actual thing. That is an actual thing now, mate. And maybe this is just a way to tap into those guys further, and tell the story of the Buatsis and the whoever else is on there this week.
Friday night filler, says Smido. He's not happy. No filler here. Let's have a look on my little list. Next Saturday night in Germany, I was talking about the IBO title earlier. The IBO International Heavyweight title, esteemed belt, is on the line as Francesco Pianetta. Yes, another one of my obscure Germans, and he's fighting against Kevin Johnson. And Gustavo Alejandro Faliga, I remember him fighting Andy Lee a while back. He's fighting for the IBO International title against Vartan Avatisian. I don't think too many people will be trying to Trying to find that one on a stream, I wouldn't have thought. Also, Tony Luis, good luck to him against Giovanni Straffon. Hard punching Tony Luis, Gabe. He's going in next weekend. Right, I've got a question for you.
Tony, let's go, brother. Get on.
Yeah.
Come back and have another interview with us, man.
Useless fact of the day, but Pianata against Johnson's actually taking place in a town that holds 28,000 population. So it should be a fucking sellout.
Yeah, if anybody's going there, hit me up. Sounds like could be a cracker. Right, Gabe, question for you from Richard Swig, friend of ours on the Facebook page. He says, Gabe, as Andre Ward has retired, how do the panel, as in you, view Virgil Hunter? Was he fortunate to be in charge of a fighter of the stature of Ward, or will he be viewed alongside the legends like Manny Stewart and Joe Gallagher?
I think, no, I don't see him being viewed as a legend like Manny Stewart. Emmanuel Stewart was one of a kind, and from my perspective, I still watch fights now and then, and I think, man, how long has it been since we've heard Emmanuel Stewart call a fight? And seen him in the ring with somebody. The work that the man did in training with fighters and as a proponent of the sport, as a guy who is a legendary figure. I mean, Virgil Hunter, yeah, he had a great guy with Andre Ward, but it would be the same as me training Andre Ward. Like there's only so much that the coach actually does. A lot of it is the work that they do together, but it's all up to the fighters. So, in my opinion, fighters hasn't even lived up to anywhere near being Emmanuel Stewart level. He's one fighter, will never be an equalizer to get somebody in the same playing field as Emmanuel Stewart. And it kind of pisses me off that people would even consider that at this point. Look at Alfredo Angulo. I was a big fan of El Perro whenever he was, before the long layoff that he had. And when he came back and started training with Virgil, he looked completely like shit. I haven't seen him look that terrible ever. He was even slower when he came back. He was never a fast guy, but he was even slower and more plodding when he came back. Amir Khan, when he was training Amir, Jesus, what did we see from that? I just don't see any other fighters that he's worked with having been really good after they made that association. So in my mind, it's a one-off with Ward. It's always kind of, there's certain fighters that are going to work great with certain trainers. But I guess what I'm saying is, what I'm getting at is, a good sign of a great trainer is whenever they have multiple fighters with lots of great achievements. People always think, who's the number one guy with Emmanuel Stewart? Tommy Hearns. But he's trained tons of world champions, had lots of great work with lots of great guys. Look at the career of Vlad Klitschko after he got with Emmanuel. You know what I mean? He got, what's that piece of shit that's still fighting that he trained with for a long time? I don't even want to say the guy's name on the podcast for fear of giving me kind of publicity. He's a current light heavyweight champion.
Oh, I don't know what you mean. Yeah,
we're not
Adonis victim times two.
Don't say his name. I hate that guy. He's a complete utter cunt. But to answer the question,
who is it? Fanfara?
No, that's not it.
It's the pimp.
That's what I said. That's what I said. Frodonis.
I was only joking. Go ahead, Gabe.
I think that was a long way of going about saying no, he'll never be close to Emmanuel Stewart in my eyes, and for anybody that was actually around to see the work that Emmanuel did and who was able to appreciate all the things he did as an ambassador of the sport. Virgil, not to say his career is over, but he's going to have to bring somebody else along and bring multiple guys along before he could even be considered even close to being able to be compared. So he's not even in the same arena right now. He's on a completely different continent right now.
Gabe, say Alfredo Angulo's nickname again before you go.
El Perro.
Oh yeah. Right, moving on. Rio Tonka's thrown in a question. He says, anyone know why Olympian Kais Ashfaq has left Haymaker before he's even had a fight? We were talking about this actually during the week. I was talking to Ben about it. I think, Andy, the conclusion we came to was that maybe the contract that he saw or the agreements he saw at the beginning maybe weren't forthcoming, or maybe it wasn't as lucrative as he thought it was going to be.
Apparently the contract that was offered verbally was totally different when it came to actual signing it, and he says, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, pretty much. Tonka was
allegedly.
Well, yeah, talking of allegedly as well, Tonka was asking about how much money McGuigan owes Frampton, but I have no idea, to be honest with you, so I think we'll move on swiftly from that one, Rio. What else have we got? Smido.
I want to go back and say one thing real quick
about
Stevenson. He's a disgrace to the legacy of Emmanuel Stewart. The guy's a complete and utter disgrace. That's it. I'm gonna stop there. That's wanted to throw that in. I'm starting to kind of stew on that a little bit, and it's starting to boil.
You okay, hon?
Oh yeah, I just don't like the guy, and I thought Emmanuel Stewart was a great ambassador and was all the things that are good about boxing. And to see a guy that he trained, I don't think he'd still be training a guy like that if he was such a piece of crap.
Gabe's raging so much he's going to put the white hood on and go up to fucking state and actually hang the guy.
Well, I don't know about going that far, but I will rail against him until he either gets knocked off.
The Texas Tornadoes off on a witch hunt tonight. Beware, lock your doors, people, lock your doors. Smitho, Rob Barnett has been back in touch. You were talking about Wilder against Dillian Whyte possibly happening. Rob Barnett says, I agree with Smitho, but seeing Whyte getting sparked and seizuring on the floor would surely be worth it. Oh my God.
Well, yeah, I think it would. Yeah, if we've got to see it, yeah, let's at least see him get absolutely blown away by Deontay Wilder. But no, I mean, it's just one of them where, you know, he's been on pay-per-view, I think, a couple of times. He's been on iFilm and he's been on a scrap on Face Off or whatever they call it on Sky. And now he thinks that he's a pay-per-view fighter and should be fighting for world titles. I mean, you know, it's debatable if the guy's even had a European level win. It's just that, you know, it's Paul Smith syndrome all over again, isn't it?
Certainly.
And he was there last night, and he is a fat shit.
The Smith brothers, you and Paul together, Smitho.
Yeah, me and Paul together. I'm not even joking. I'm in better shape than Paul Smith. That is not a joke.
No, I can well believe it. Joe, just before we move on to some more previews, new Carl Frampton promoter Frank Warren wants to make a clash between Carl and Josh Warrington. We were talking about this last week. How do you think the fight would play out? The fight in the stands, of course, Joe.
You're on mute, Joe.
I was saying the first fight probably would be where they have it in Windsor Park or over Nell Road. It's not a competitive fight whatsoever, and I don't think anyone, only the most hardcore of Leeds people would claim it is. And it could be like, if it's a decent money earner for Frampton, like he's been very, very forthright in saying that he's looking to cash in now for over the next couple of years. Like, he's gotten to the top level, and if there's a chance that he's getting a good few $100,000 to go over, and it could be even bigger. Like that could be you could see Warren trying to do that as a BT Sport pay-per-view. Maybe, you know, do what he did, like build it into an American leg of his thing as well, so you get a double header. Maybe build, like, if what, like, say, I don't want to see this, but just trying to think of an alternate reality here. But what that Santa Cruz and Mares, they're saying they're going to fight in February. It's always delayed. It's probably going to be next summer by the time Santa Cruz and Mares do that as a double header with Frampton and Warrington, and then winners face off against each other or something. Because Warrington doesn't want Selby. Like, I know they're gone into a final eliminator. It's 2 weeks from now, but that fight won't happen. That fight will never happen.
You okay,
Steve?
Smith?
I'll just say on Frampton, because I wasn't on last week. I did say that it would be absolutely crazy to sign with Frank Warren, given that his that his strategy is clearly big fights and big paydays. So I've got to swallow a bit of humble pie there. But what I will say, I think the Frank Warren relationship is more of a. He's not going to be promoting Cole Frampton. It's just Frank Warren is providing a platform for Cole Frampton. It's as simple as that, if you ask me. Frampton's name, especially in Belfast, etc., promotes itself. It will just be a hub of someone to sell his tickets, someone to get him on TV, and I think that's pretty much as far as it will go, to be honest. And it kind of works for Frank as well. He does need a standout star for BT, given that Billy Joe Saunders is not brilliant. Terry Flanagan can't string a sentence together. So it kind of works for both of them, and I can see why Carl's chose to go that way. It's mutually beneficial, but I definitely will not be classing Frank Warren as his actual promoter, if you see what I mean.
Certainly do.
I get what you mean there, but I'd just say with the Warren's WBO link that could end up being quite beneficial to Frampton in that sense. But I do get what you're saying is that like Frampton's almost now like he doesn't particularly need someone that much.
Who's the WBO champion? Is it Valdez?
Yes,
it's Oscar Valdez. Yeah, and you even saw after the Cervania fight, the first name that was on Aram's lips was Frampton, and Valdez himself said he wants that fight next.
Yeah.
That would certainly be an entertaining fight. Andy, looking at the fights from next week, StubHub Centre, Carson, California. This is a bit of a strange card, I think. We've got Abner Mares, WBA World Featherweight title defence against Andres Gutierrez, unless he slips in the shower, of course. And Leo Santa Cruz defending his WBA Super World Featherweight title against former Frampton victim Chris Avalos. You got Mares, Gutierrez, Cruz, and Avalos. You could throw Frampton in. Never mind triangle theories. This is more like hexagon theories with all the relationships these lot have between each other.
See, to be honest, mate, I've got zero interest in this card. I mean, Santa Cruz, I mean, okay, you got to give him credit for how he changed his tactics and won that rematch against Frampton, but that was in January, and he turns around and fights Chris Avalos, who, in all honesty, he's had like one win in about the last 3 fights, I think. I think he's maybe had three losses in the last 5. One of them was to Oscar Valdez. He got stopped, and one was against that Mark McZile, and he got his shit pushed back in anyway.
Didn't he cause like a surprise upset win or something, Andy? Maybe controversially, or something happened, didn't it, with Avalos recently?
Technical decision.
All right, okay.
It was a Premier Boxing Champions card, one of the Tuesday evening ones. And he was brought in as the B-side, and I think it was an accidental clash of heads or something that was ruled a punch.
Oh, right, Miguel Flores.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
And as you say, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Gutierrez I've watched a wee bit just before the supposed Frampton fight that got cancelled. Mares, I mean, I've not seen him since the Queller fight, which was last December. It's almost a year at the ring. He's like semi-retired. I think the last fight with Santa Cruz was okay, but you know, the least said about this card, the better. If there's, it's just like filling in time. For example, I just think if these two were going to fight, just fucking fight already. Okay, there's no need for a tune-up, warm-up, or whatever. He's had plenty of time to get yourself in shapes for this fight, but he's turning. I mean, was there no talk about these two actually fighting, and then all of a sudden these two came out of the blue, Avalos and Gutierrez?
Yeah.
I just think it's a joke. I really don't know what the fuck's going on here. I think, I suppose I can throw Eddie in here just briefly, because I think he's been quite sleek, shall we say, in making this move into America. I think he's starting to suss, or because he's contacts in America or whatever, and these deals and stuff, he must know Heyman's struggling like fuck. Hence the reason why he's decided to try and make a move here, because he must know that there's got a lot of fighters going to start kind of jumping ship. I've seen Dan Jacobs jumping across. You know, is it going to be soon after we're going to see mix like Mares? I don't suppose we'll see Cruz and Garcia leave or Quillen, because they seem to be right up fucking, or they've got a self-contained flat up Al Heyman's arsehole. But I think we'll maybe see quite a few other guys leaving actually after a while. I'm not going to be watched. I'm not going to be sitting watching this. I'll download it probably, and I don't know if I even watch it in time. Hopefully we'll get quick knockouts, and we can briefly discuss it next week. But the least said about this card, the better, actually.
Yeah, a couple of decent fights on the undercard. Eddie Ramirez, 17-0, getting a good test against Antonio DiMarco, who's been on the scene for a while, and also a PBC favourite. This guy, I don't know what pictures of Al Heyman he has. Ivan Redcatch is on again. No problem getting him dates. He's fighting against Raynell Williams. Gabe Mares was supposed to fight Santa Cruz. I thought to myself, well, I don't really want to see this rematch, but okay, fair enough. And then all of a sudden, they're having a tune-up fight before they fight each other in the rematch. Are you interested in this, Gabe? Avalos and Gutierrez as opponents?
Hell no. Look, I've been one of the biggest detractors of the fraud Leo Santa Cruz for the longest time. I still think he's garbage unless he changes before the end of his career. I always think he's garbage. The guy just is garbage. He fights meaningless fights, pointless fights. You know, it's just complete and utter crap. Now, I do, in the past, I have been pretty harsh on Mares as well. But I feel like Mares was kind of put in a position where he has to take this fight so he can get the fight with Leo Santa Cruz. So I out of the two, I've kind of changed my stance more on Mares. Darchin still beat him. I hold a grudge on that one because Darchin is one of my all-time favorite guys. But Mares, I feel like he's a solid guy. And after he got kind of knocked down a peg by the Mexican guy, what's his name? Johnny Gonzalez.
Oh, yes.
After Johnny got to him that fight, he seemed like he kind of straightened up a little bit and wasn't being such a cocky little punk. And I've liked him since then. I have more respect for Mares. I have, to this point, still zero respect for Leo Santa Cruz. He ducked and dodged and did everything he could to stay away from Rigondeaux. He just...
True. Very true.
Trash. Just trash. I hope he gets knocked the fuck out. Stone cold knocked out. Just on his back. Senseless. That would thrill me beyond all measure. And then for everybody else to move on and for him to come back again and get knocked out again. Just thrills me. I have no desire to see these two fights. You know, if you don't want to see the rematch of Santa Cruz and Mares, that's fine. I can understand that. I actually thought it was a pretty good fight the first time around, so seeing a rematch would be fun to me. And I'd love to see Mares smash his teeth in.
Joe, Mares has been quite vocal saying he wants Carl Frampton. The only problem is it's time scale now, isn't it? If Mares and Santa Cruz win their respective bouts, then they fight each other. We're pushing on towards a year probably. You know, it's pushing the time frame all the time.
Yeah, actually, can I just add in one thing? From during the summer,
yes,
when the Gonzalez-Frampton fight was meant to be happening, the line we were initially fed in the opening press conference was that Santa Cruz had an opportunity to fight Gonzalez back when he was, I think, super bantamweight champion.
Gutierrez,
yeah, and
yeah.
Barry and Carl were saying that Santa Cruz had ducked Gutierrez, and obviously you don't pay too much heed to those sort of press conference claims, but the fact that he's fighting Avalos and he's the super champion or whatever, and then Mares has what looks to be a tougher fight. Like it intrigued me. I'm just wondering, was there any sort of truth in that?
Interesting point. That's a well-raised point, Smido. Gutierrez slipping in showers. Have you ever slipped in the shower, Smid?
Oh yeah, plenty of times. Yeah, sometimes I slip in the shower deliberately.
You never smashed your front teeth out, though, no?
No, I smashed my belt, but not my front teeth. No.
Do you think Santa Cruz will do more damage to Gutierrez than the aforementioned shower?
Probably, yeah. I mean, point raised earlier about Santa Cruz. We've not seen enough of him. You know, I thought he was absolutely fantastic in the rematch against Carl Frampton. He knew what he needed to change. He changed it, and he did it, and he won well. But, you know, we've already seen him against Mares. Do we need to see him again? Did you say we've got two versions of the same organisation's belt being defended on the same night in the same
Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I'm really down with that. But yeah, as you guys have said, not really that interested this weekend, Steve. To be honest, we've both seen him. Well, particularly Avalos. they're not good enough. They're just not.
Smid, you're not getting too excited by that, but there are a couple of cards which you might get excited by, particularly this Wembley Arena. I think it's ITV pay-per-view. You're a great man for the pay-per-views. John Ryder against Patrick Nielsen on the undercard. That could be a decent fight. That's one of the better supporting headliners of Cali Sowerland's reign in the WBSS. And, of course, George Groves against Jamie Cox. Just before you mention that, Smido, if anybody wants to go over to YouTube, I don't really watch the IFL videos that much, but the Chris Eubank press conference from last night was hilarious. Cali could not sit still, Smido. He was chewing the microphone like.
Yeah, I've not seen it. I think they have struggled with the undercards, and it makes you wonder. But obviously that's part of their model. They're selling the main event. They do seem to be selling a fair amount of tickets wherever the events may be, not particularly sellouts. But yeah, they're relying on local lads like they did in Liverpool to really local kind of unsigned, free agents to fill the void. John Ryder, he's got 4 losses on his record now, including the last one against Rocky Fielding. I think maybe John will be motivated by the lack of Simon Clayton in his life anymore. So he might be motivated there. He's got rid of a hanger on, and he could well now push on in his career. That may be what's been delaying Ryder really pushing on. But Grove, do you want me to talk about Groves and Cox? I
do, Smido.
Yeah, I think Groves has got to be the clear favourite for this. Jamie Cox, he's got the 24-0 record, but what's he really done? His last few fights, he's coming into this. He's fought a couple of 4-rounders in July. I mean, maybe that must be part of just to keep busy ahead of this. Should have done better with Lewis Taylor. 9th round technical decision on cuts. I remember watching that. I think that was his first fight with Hearn, and then in his last 3 or 4 fights with Warren, he had a couple of first round knockouts. So we're not really learning a lot there. I just it's one of them. He's a records man. Someone tweeted today, I'm not taking the credit for it, but someone tweeted that Cox has only fought 10 people with winning records. And Groves, I'm just guessing here, is probably not far off fighting 10 current, former or future world champions, to be fair. So the levels of experience and where he's been operating, it's massively in Groves' favour. I think Groves needs to look good in this. His confidence will obviously be up. He's picked up some world trinket by the organisation we won't mention. So yeah, everything points at Groves in this, and I think he could possibly do it by knockout as well. He can still bang a little bit. Groves, quite devastatingly so in his last fight. So I think he'll continue that. He is the favourite for the tournament, and we'll see how good how much Groves has got left and how good Eubank is in about 4 or 5 months' time.
Yeah, Andy, I think Cox is a bit of a myth, isn't he? His reputation has been built
off.
That's
the right word. That's the right word. It is genuinely, yeah.
It has, hasn't it, Andy? It's been built off the back of sort of out of the ring skirmishes. He looks like a bit of a madman. He can punch a bit against a lower level, but if you actually look at his fights and look at his record, you can see why Groves has picked him, really. He just might not be that good, Andy.
He's not that good. Everybody knows he should have at least a couple of L's in that record. He's certainly a couple of DQ defeats anyway, guaranteed. I think his best one's against the females. He's as a result of that, he got what was it, 6 weeks in the jail. I'm not trying to kind of condone of violence against women and stuff like that, but that guy's got previous. He kicks about, thinking he's the big cheese and stuff. Believes he's going to knock out Groves. If you look at the size of these two when they picked him at the draft, Groves was fucking huge compared to this guy. I mean, this guy kind of campaigned at light middleweight for the best part of his career and stuff.
It's weird, isn't it, Andy? Wasn't he a welterweight at one point when he fought Sai, or light middleweight or something like that?
I'm pretty certain I read somewhere that he fought Johnny Greaves in his debut, and it was something like 145 pounds or something like that. I read that last week, I'm sure. But his power's overrated as well. I mean, name me one fighter that okay, leave the Obdesai fight to one side. Everybody knows he should have lost that fight. Other than that, I do not know anybody on his record. Maybe I've seen the name. Is it Frank Albert, the Hungarian guy? I've seen his name kind of floating about a couple of times.
I was at that fight. I think that was in Dublin, actually.
It was in Dublin, aye. But the only thing I can maybe see him giving Groves a bit of a problem for a wee bit would be the fact he's a southpaw. Other than that, I would say that Groves' jab. I think I mentioned it earlier on during the show. There is, his jab, his experience. He's just basically kind of. I think he's better. He's certainly more well-rounded, I think, than Jamie Cox and stuff. And he's no like a hothead. If you look at Cox now, he's always leading with the head. He's banging it in there, trying to make it dirty and stuff. I think if he does try it, he kind of like fucking mix it up with Groves. Groves is a typical ginger, by the way. If it gets fucking dirty, he'll lose the rag. The mist will come down. He'll start fucking throwing shots as well. I think Cox's best chance is to try and make it dirty, try and make Groves angry, try and get him fucking throwing wild, reckless shots and stuff, and see if maybe Groves gasses down the straight. We all know Groves' gas tank's kind of somewhat suspect, and if he can do that, he might have a chance. But as I said earlier, I would be deeply disappointed if Groves doesn't handle this guy. I says to Groves when I met him in Belfast, you better fucking knock him out. I hate him. I want to see him fucking decimated. I want to see him retired. I want to see him out the sport for good. He's an absolute penis of a human being. So come on, Groves, do the business for us, mate.
War cry from Andy. Seems to have lost Gabe and Joe at the moment, so we shall move on. I just have my say. I agree with the guys. I think Groves' jab, I think he'll make Cox look pretty ordinary, pretty average, to be honest. I think the jab, the skills, the power, it'll keep Cox at bay. And I can see him knocking him out in about 4 or 5 rounds. I can see Cox being hurt early and not recovering. So, yeah, I agree with the consensus there that George Groves is going to march on. Let's see if we can get Gabe back on. Nothing at the moment. 9:45. We're going to be getting out of here very soon. Just before we do, Bellew of the Weeks are coming up. Bit of Patreon information, Andy. Punches from the Past is dropping this week, thanks to our technical team of Dave the Hater Lowback. Plenty of other bits and pieces over there as well. Andy agrees.
Sorry, I was on mute there. Chatting about. Nice wee treat for the fans. I think is it this week it's getting released and stuff.
Yep.
I'm working on some other stuff as well, so stay tuned. It's going to be well worth the $5 you're paying us out each every month. And by the way, Steve, can we call out the 5 Welchers as well?
Well, I don't know the names. 3 and maybe 4 have since been resolved, so it might just be the single one now.
All right, so just basically they've been paying a couple of dollars here and there and stuff like that, and their payments failed. Tight arses.
Just to let the listeners know, it's well worth the $5 a month because I don't get invited on the Punches of the Past, so you don't have to listen to my shit. So it's well worth it.
Adam, would you like to come on?
If you got
a good episode,
if you give me a fight that I know and I've watched, I'll get involved.
Flip me. How are we going to work that?
Whoa! Yeah.
Only joking. Carl Froch against Charles Adamy.
Yeah. I was at that fight. That was for the Commonwealth title. I was there. Paid £35 for a ticket.
Yeah, I remember those days back on BBC. Froch fought Mark McCulloch or something. I think it was a Canadian. Anyway, that's a black hole. Right, final card for next weekend. Andy, New York. This looks like a good card, actually, on Showtime. I'm looking forward to this one. Jarrett Hurd defending his IBF Super Welterweight title against Austin Trout. Yeah, he's back again. Jamel Charlo defending his WBC title against Erickson Lubin. That's a proper fight. I'm really looking forward to that. And Erislandy Lara returns. He's defending his baubles against Terrell Gosha, who's 20-0. I think he was an Olympian, actually. Tony Harrison's on the card as well. A couple of undefeated guys, including heavyweight George Arias. Quite a few decent fights, Andy, especially Charlo against Lubin.
Yeah, it'll tell us where Lubin's at, actually. I think it's maybe a wee bit too soon for Lubin, I think. I know some people were kind of rating him highly, but this is his first real step up in class. As I say, I keep forgetting which Charlo this is. This is the one that's at light middleweight. The other one's not up to middleweight, so...
That's right, yeah.
I think this one might be on the gear as well. I mean, those knockouts of Jackson and Charles Hatley were pretty kind of ferocious and stuff. But I'm gonna go with Charlo with the stoppage here. As I says, purely because I know Lubin had a decent amateur career and stuff. I just think it's maybe slightly too soon for him. And he says he's got 13 knockouts. Suggests he's got a wee bit of power, but at the same time, as it's against nobody really. Okay, Charlo's got Jackson, Hatley. Alcine's okay. He's decent enough, I suppose, if you want to kind of keep busy.
Chinny though, he's chinny and past it, isn't he? Yeah.
Aye, Matarosian, I suppose it's okay. He kind of he'll go rounds with Rosado. He kind of go rounds with him. Demetrius Hopkins has been kind of kicking around for a wee bit as well. So I think maybe it's better seasoning. So I'm expecting Charlo to turn the business here, and I'm probably going to go with maybe kind of like, say, an 8th or a 9th round knockout.
And I would agree. I think about 11 rounds. I think he might be lubing him up early, Andy. What about that? And then sticking it in late?
There we go, mate. Sticking it in late, jabbing it in there.
Lara, I think, will beat Gosha, probably on points because he's safe first. Gosha doesn't punch and he's fought absolutely nobody. Jarrett Hurd, that could be a decent one. I could see him stopping Trout, actually, Smido. Hurd stopped Tony Harrison in his last fight. I picked Harrison to win that one. Another L, a regular L for me on there. Yeah, some decent scraps. What about Charlo Lubin for you, Smid?
I'm going Lubin, in this. I think Charlo's struggling at the weight a little bit. We'll obviously learn more about that as the week goes on. But yeah, I think, Andy makes a good, fair argument about Lubin. We haven't seen him in against anyone great yet, but I think this would be his coming out party. Who was the other fight, Steve?
Lara against Terrell Gosha.
I don't know who Gosha is, and Laura's becoming irrelevant, so hopefully that Laura can win and look good, but that's doubtful. That'll probably go to points.
And Jarrett Hurd against Austin Trout. Hurd beat Harrison in his last fight.
Yeah, well, that Hurd and Harrison was 50-50 going into that fight, and he won it quite well, didn't he, Hurd? So yeah, I think Trout's probably past his best, so I'll go for Hurd to win that one by KO.
Yep, I'm going for Lara, Charlo, and Hurd. Hurd and Charlo by KO. Lara on points. Let's get to the Bellew of the week.
Really, a KO? Do you really think he's going to stop him?
Which one?
Trout. You think he's going to get stopped?
I think he is. I think he's going to stop him in about the 10th or 11th round. I think Trout's done.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think probably a bit earlier,
Do you not think so, Andy?
I'm kind of... Okay, I'm maybe going to go for points, but I think it's going to be quite close. I wouldn't be surprised to see Trout maybe just sneak a wee decision here, but again, it's okay. Hurd's had a couple of decent fights, especially back-to-back, and that I think this would give a proper indication as to where he's at. Trout, he hasn't looked great recently, has he? I forget what age he is and stuff, but I'm not too sure. I think he could give Hurd a few problems just to think about. I think it'll go to points. I think maybe Hurd will maybe just shade it, but wouldn't you be surprised to see Trout maybe kind of get a share of the spoils here?
Yeah, because I think Harrison was beating Hurd narrowly, like he was getting the jab away, wasn't he? And he sort of gassed a little bit, and Hurd took over.
Kind of mind, it might have been close in the cards.
I think it was.
I need to go back and check that. I don't know if Harrison was leading, but I think it was close.
Yeah, well, maybe it was closer, maybe not leading, as you say. No sign of our friends coming back. I'm still on the call though. Andy's here and Smido's here. We're going to be finishing up now before Smido's 10 o'clock curfew. Let's get the Bellew of the weeks out of the way. Quite a few. Andy's thrown in a few casual comments. We're just going to read them out. If you don't like the Bellew of the week, then turn the podcast off, you miserable bastards. Right, George Foreman has been nominated. Steven Seagal, I challenge you one-on-one. I use boxing. You can use whatever. 10 rounds in Vegas. This is a troll account, wasn't it? He was arguing with.
I'm pretty sure either that account's been hacked.
It wasn't even a proper Seagal account. He was going backwards and forwards.
Seagal's the biggest fraud in fucking martial arts, that motherfucker. I'm telling you right now, he's a fucking fraud.
Good old Seagal. I enjoyed Exit Wounds. Anyway, Ashley Sissons has been nominated. He has a picture of Lynx with Anthony Joshua, and he said, "It comes to something when I can't walk past this in a supermarket without having to buy one with the champ on it." Okay, Ashley, fair play to you. Mr. Baroma was talking about Joe Calzaghe, most underrated champ ever. He beat a prime Roy Jones Jr. and Hopkins. I put Joe right up there with Sugar Ray Robinson and Sugar Ray Leonard for the all-time middleweight greats. so much is wrong with that tweet.
Oh, that is an epic fucking day for trolling that one. Jesus Christ.
That was Chad Hogan in Limbo. Zombie Chad Hogan that nominated that one. Dominic Henry has nominated Conor McGregor. The ref was Adelaide Bird's husband. He stopped the fight too early, says Conor. Joe Ringer has nominated Bobby Hitchin. Why doesn't Wilder fight Dillian Whyte? He's meant to be a champion, but avoids most people. The fans want to see these fights. Yeah, says Joe. Check out his all-time classic against Dave Allen.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Well, I said it all last week about fucking why Dillian Whyte shouldn't get that fight. Non-deserving.
Yeah, exactly. Joey at Master Mode has nominated Ahmet Ona. There can only be one winner. He says he had an absolute meltdown. What was it? I fuck your mother.
I fuck your wife in your bed.
That's right.
And she'll make me kebab afterwards.
Oh man, yeah, he had an absolute meltdown. We've spoken about him many times on the pod. He's quite the character. Good to see him back in the game again. Tommy Hamill, got a bellew for you for Eddie Hearn. Eddie is bigging up this Harlem Eubank. He's from Brighton, so I'm assuming it's something to do with the Eubanks. He's going to be making his second appearance on the Next Gen card next Friday. Apparently, Mr. Harlem Eubank got iced by Dean Dodge in a white collar boxing event in 2 rounds before he turned pro. So this should be a good one, Andy.
Aye, Hearn's got him, eh?
Yeah, he's putting him on Next Gen.
Next generation. Oh, fuck. Next generation of AIDS.
He got knocked out in white collar, so I'm not looking forward to Harlem Eubank too much. Dominic Henry has nominated William Taylor, who said Ken Buchanan went through his whole career fighting journeymen.
Who said that?
William Taylor on Twitter.
Give me his Twitter hand. I'm going to troll him. What an absolute casual comment.
Apologies, sorry. Dominic confirmed it was actually in the comments section under the IFL interview. So we don't know who he is, actually.
Fucking Jesus Christ.
Ken was on the telly on Friday night. Did you see him talking to Bunsey and Lillis?
No, I didn't see any of the Box Nation card on Friday, mate.
Yeah, he's looking well, actually, to be fair to him. He was telling a few stories from the past.
Yeah, I remember speaking to him, actually. I did ask him, I said, what was the best fight he ever faced apart from Duran? And without a heartbeat, he says Ishmael Laguna.
Yeah, he was talking about that fight last night with his dad having the parasol up in the corner, trying to shield him from the sun and all that.
All right.
Yeah, good old Ken. Nomination from Simon Alavey for Hosea Burton. In my heart and soul, I'm an unbeaten fighter, says Burton. You lost, mate, says Simon. Fair enough.
Big Luna schooled him, did they know?
That's right. Well, he knocked him out, didn't they?
Aye, last round or something, I think.
Can't remember. I know that Burton was doing okay, and then Buglioni came from behind and knocked him out. So we'll give that nomination to him. Right, nomination for the Guru, nominated by Chad Hogan. He's talking about Ricky Burns. Tommy, I haven't got that full tweet saved, so forget that one. Andy, you nominated Chris at Chris NUFC. Conor Benn is looking class. I'd love to see him fight Eubank Jr. one day.
Yes, I think I sent quite a few just along those lines, mate, that, you know, they can't wait to see this Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. I don't know how it's going to happen. Like, I think Ben will need to get on the fucking, you know, the Incredible Hulk gear to fucking make the weight.
Well, Jordan Jr. threw one in. He said, here's hoping they do meet. I'd love to see Conor fight Eubank and shut that cocky loud mouth up and put an end to the Ben Eubank saga. Another one from you, Andy, Junior Jones. Ben versus Eubank Jr. in a few years. Fuck me, imagine if that happened. A couple more from you, Andy. Pedro, I'd pay to watch Conor Benn before I'd watch Eubank for fuck all. Neil Wormsley, what for someone down the line? Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. There's an absolute load of them. Thanks for sending them in, Andy. Craig McLeod says, right now, I think Chris Eubank Jr. is the pound-for-pound best fighter on the planet. You can quote me on that one, he says. For sake. Phil Coles, don't get me wrong. Who's he talking about? Conor Benn. I watched Ben, and he was more precise than Eubank Jr. Moved more, landed more punches. Out the two, he's the better fighter, personally. Yeah, I'm sure they were fighting opponents of the same level. Who have we got? Steve Antrobus has nominated Haroon. Haroon's been nominated before, actually. Congratulations on a second nomination. He was enjoying it early on Twitter. Boxing doesn't work like that, says Haroon. Styles make fights. Triple G would beat Khan. Mayweather would beat Triple G, but Khan would beat Mayweather.
Oh, dear fuck. I tell you what, right? You know, Donnie's the biggest Khan fan ever, right? I swear to God, I was baiting him for fucking months trying to take it up and Floyd Mayweather bet. Okay, the fight never happened or whatever and that, but are people really serious that fucking he's going to beat Mayweather? Even at this fucking stage of Mayweather's life, man, he would still beat him.
I agree. Marcus Bellinger has nominated Paul Dempsey for saying Selby destroyed Flores. David Lincoln has nominated all the boneheads commenting under Eddie Hearn's Instagram. Talking about Anthony Joshua being an unbelievable talent. That's all the ones I've got, Andy. I know you sent in a few earlier. Any additional ones?
I don't think so, mate. I don't think I've got any more at the minute.
No, you did send me about 4 or 5, so that's probably yours all done.
Yeah, probably, aye. Well, just maybe throw one in there for the Mostyn Lane dog shagger, actually. Last night, he was really wanting to get his picture taken with Anthony Crolla. He even had to shout him back over. Did they like to see Crolla getting all the attention when he spoke to Michael Buffer and that, and he's trying to walk away, and the Mostyn Lane dog shagger says, "Oh, come back here! I need to get a picture with you, big son." So,
I like the way Mimoon's caught in his corner, didn't give a shit about Sky. Man kept shouting him to come over, and he's having photos, and then at the end, the interview didn't even end, and him and his translator just walked off like, "See you later."
Zero fucks given.
Yeah, exactly. Smido, any nominations from you?
I got to Steve Wellings for picking Yildirim to win that tournament, and then saying after that it was tongue in cheek. Every time I get something wrong, I'm just going to say it was tongue in cheek, like when I said Klitschko would knock Fury out with a jab. And the other one's just got to be. We take it stripping back value of the week to what it was originally. Eddie Hearn said that Dillian Whyte is one of the most avoided heavyweights in the world. Enough said.
Enough said. Was that tongue in cheek, Smith?
No.
No, you are right. I am happy to take it. Originally, it was tongue in cheek, but afterwards, I have no excuses. No, I did jump on the bandwagon, so I'm happy to nominate myself for that particular award. I'm going to go for Ahmet Owner. I think Andy. I think he's had a good week.
He tried his best, but I still think it's got to go to the guy that says Ken Buchanan is he fought nothing but bums or whatever it was.
William Taylor.
William Taylor gets my vote. He doesn't fucking desecrate a Scottish fucking legend like that. Does he? Fuck. No, when I'm around anyway.
Talking of Scottish legends, where's Tommy?
Oh, he's hungover, mate, for what I hear. He's probably lying in his scratch or fucking, playing his balls and scraping the fucking cheese off his German helmet.
What a lovely image. Smido, who are you going for?
I'm going for the kid who bought the links.
Oh, that was Ashley Sissons?
Yeah, I'm going for him.
We've got 3 different ones this week then. We'll give it to them all, shall we? Why not?
Should get to Onar then if we're really going to make. He tried his best to sell some more pay-per-views and stuff, but ultimately.
And his fighting was shite too because he had an opportunity to chin that kid and he went head to head and then tried. What did he undoing his cuffs or something?
He tried to take his watch off and his rings and his fucking cufflinks and try to roll his. I tell you what he should have done last night. Well, I was telling him to stay away from the bell and that, but I says, "Listen, mate, I think you better get round there pretty quick and ring that bell." But third round, I says, "Look, you're too late, mate. You should have made the move way sooner."
Okay, congratulations then to Mr. Owner for winning that. 2 questions and then we are finished. It's 10 o'clock. Right, Andy, question from James O'Shea. We can maybe all weigh in on this. It's quite a fun one, actually. James says, you have to pay homage to a fighter in your own bout whose walkout music, shorts and trainer do you use? So you're paying homage to your fighters. Whose walkout music, shorts and trainer do you use? James said he wants Kell Brook's All of the Lights as the music, Prince Nazim's leopard print shorts, and Emmanuel Stewart in his corner. What about you, Andy? First of all, what would your walkout music be?
Probably something to do with AC/DC or maybe some sort of rave music or something.
Highway to Hell or something?
No, maybe Are You Ready or Smash and Grab type thing. Trunks, I don't know.
Andy, about which fighter's music you would have, not your choice of music.
But I didn't listen to that sort of shit though. I mean, fuck it, okay, Vitaly Klitschko's ring walk music, Hell's Bells, that would do me, or maybe Vladimir, sorry. The start of that's pretty good. Trunks, I really don't give a fuck.
The big Floyd Mayweather fluffy ones against Arturo Gatti?
Nah, I'll probably go with, I don't know. I'll probably go for the Kronk colours this scene because they're worldwide known. And what was the other one? My trainer.
Huge average your trainer, yeah.
Ray Arcel.
Ray Arcel. Smido, what about you? Walk on music, shorts and trainer.
Walk on music. Oh, I fucking had one there. But I forgot. I like Sam Eggington's from last night. I like Sam Eggington's. He has like the 300, the stuff from the film 300 playing. I kind of like that. Comedy shorts would be the Danny Williams ones. That's my kind of style.
I forgot about them.
you know, down to your shit.
Yeah.
I would also have a walk on dance as well, Steve, or walk on demeanour, and that would be Uzi Ahmed. Uzi Ahmed,
Oh,
is that what
yes.
name? Yeah. I'm going to go for walk on dance as well. Trainer, I would just go Billy Graham, to be honest.
Billy Graham. There's one from the past, Ricky Hatton's old trainer. For me, I would go for The Boss, I like by James Brown. I think that's a good song. I know that Cole Frampton's come out to that before, Anthony Kakachi as well.
AJ came out to one of his recent fights as well.
Did he? Right, yeah, I think that's brilliant. I like that one. As for the shorts, go for the Klitschko ones, those classic red ones. I quite like the Vladimir Klitschko shorts. And as for the trainer, I'm going to go for Norman Stone. You'd never have a quiet moment in that corner, would you?
Oof. I remember him against, was it Roy Jones against John Ruiz?
Alt Murkison bopped him one, didn't they?
Fucking hell. Remember Larry Mercer saying that guy's a classy guy when he says to the referee gave him a warning, he walked away with that fucking jerk off. Merchant, he's a real classy dude, that one.
He was a nutcase, wasn't he, Stone?
Oh, what? Norman Stone, fucking nut job.
He certainly was. Final question, Andy, from Niall O'Connor. This is maybe one for Big Russ. We'll see what you've got to say on it. He said, a quick look on StubHub's website shows tickets for Joshua's fight in practically every tier up for resale. I thought when the fight was announced that it wasn't a Cardiff Stadium size affair. Do you think it's sold out because people speculated to make a quick profit and there'll be plenty of empty seats on the night? Or am I just reaching desperately to see Eddie Hearn take an L?
You know me, mate. I didn't really like to get too involved with the business side of things. You know, some people, like that type of thing. I personally think they just put all these tickets on StubHub or Ticketmaster, whatever you call these places, just so they can say, "Oh, look at that, we sold out in like 2 hours or whatever." You remember, fucking Millennium Stadium holds something like it's all in. I mean, I remember I was like Kawasaki Kessler, and I was like fucking 60,000 in there for that one, and even that was fucking full. I would say this would be about 70,000-80,000 probably if it was really sold out. I think you'll probably find tickets available on the day. They'll probably just kind of like charge or looking for too much. You know me, I didn't like to get myself too involved in that type of shit. But I would like to see Eddie take a loss. I remember the night Scott Cardle lost in Glasgow when Burns fought in Dongo. That was quite funny to see. Coogan Cassius going to give him a funny look as well. But however Eddie takes a loss, I'm down for that. I don't care how it happens. If AJ, if you imagine if AJ gets beat, oh fucking shit balls, it's going to be gravy train ended. But nah, he's going to do the business, isn't he?
He's going to do the business, Andy, I think. That's us all done for the night. I'm going to throw a question out to our listeners because I'm really struggling to think of any answers to this one, but maybe they can help us out. Liam Wynn threw it in last week, and I didn't ask it because I wasn't sure if anyone would come off with any off the top of their heads. It's about the 10-10 scores that have been going on recently. I know Carl Frotch and also Barry Jones on Box Nation both must have been taking the lead off Twitter because they both mentioned about 10-10 rounds and people not being very happy with them. So they are obviously listening to the feedback. But Liam Wynn said, with the debate of evenly scored 10-10 rounds for select rounds, can the pod give an example of a round in recent years where they feel it truly was a 10-10 round rather than a cop-out? I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm struggling with that question, to be honest. So if anybody can think of a 10-10 round in a fight they watched recently or in the past that they felt was a genuine 10-10 round, asks Liam, then let us know. I can't think of any, so I'll just throw that out for any listeners that might want to throw some into the YouTube comments or something. Any other business, guys, or should we get out here?
Nah, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here, says Andy. Andy Patterson there on the call. Adam Smith.
Steve,
have him back. Yes, Smith.
I've got an answer to the 10-10 because I saved notes on my phone.
Go on then.
Going back to, and I'm a poor scorer of fights, by the way, but I hate 10-10 rounds. I really do. I'm going back to Pacquiao Bradley. How many times did they fight? Twice.
3 times, wasn't it?
Right, fuck knows what.
Was it? I can't remember.
Yeah, God knows which fight. But anyway, round 4, all my comments were, it's not very detailed. Both bouncing around, nothing happening, boring draw.
So you have an example of a 10-10 round?
Yeah, and I do hate scoring draws, to be honest. But yeah, I've got some weird and old notes on my phone here. I've got Martinez Frampton, Canelo Lara, Crawford Gamboa, Rose against Marcial. That was a great fight, Brian Rose Marcial. Brooks Senchenko, Bradley Marquez. I mean, anyone who calls me a casual, Steve, and I've got notes from Enzo Macronelli against Oville McKenzie, the rematch on my phone. You can think again.
Stick it up, you says, Smith.
I think you need to get a new phone, mate.
Have some of that. That's what I say. Have some of that.
Have some of that. Smido has come up with some 10-10 rounds. So there you go, Liam. Thanks to Adam Smido Smith. Also, we had Gabe on the call. And we had Joe O'Neill. Thanks to Joe for coming on as well and giving his perspective. I've been Steve Wellings. We'll catch you all again next week. Cheerio.
Eddie's a grass.
Having a Yildirim TBA.